You're listening to Ernestly Speaking, the only weekly podcast that covers friends, foes, and anything that goes. And now, for your badass host, Ernest Owens. And we're back with another episode of Ernestly Speaking with your host, Ernest Owens, myself. Well, it is August. Yes, July kind of just came and went. I mean, it's like I was just getting into the groove of July, and next thing I know, September is next door. Like a couple of weeks away. Like fall is near. Labor Day is closer to us than Juneteenth and 4th of July. That's yeah, I gotta take some moment. I gotta take a moment to process that. Like, where did summer go? I think that the heat just evaporate and suck it up. I don't know. Like I was just like finally processing all of the mayhem with the unions, and it seemed like that was getting somewhere, and then things just kind of, quote unquote resolved itself, and then just got us, here in August. Like, okay. But yeah, we're in August, and I guess for me this is peak summertime because as you core 500 are listening to this very early or at the start of the week, I am at this moment in Martha's Vineyard at Oak Bluffs for a week. I'll be at the vineyard for a week and getting away from Philly physically for a couple of days. Just need some good old time. So Mr. Johnson and I on our annual vacation, summer vacation. This is the best time for us because I just can't think of any other time, especially this year, especially this summer, where this is like the first week of August, I feel like it's like the best week to dip because I feel like no one is doing anything or trying to do anything. Like, the last week of July, there's people that's trying to wrap some things up. Like, people are moving, people are doing things, it's too much. But the start of August, I feel like everybody is, you know, first week of September, back to school, Labor Day, everything in between, people trying to start everything. That first week of July, it's 4th of July, people are, doing whatever. But I just feel like the first week of August, it's sacred. Like, don't try to do too much in August. There's people on there's a convention going on. We'll talk a little bit about that. Yeah, I have some thoughts about that convention. But there's a lot of festivities. So I look forward to our trip, and my warning is still in place for those people that are coming. There's some folks that have never been to the vineyard coming from Philly. There's a couple of different Philly folks that's coming apparently this week. you know, I got my rule. If you could have had lunch with me in Philly, then let's have that lunch in Philly. But we're not having it this August, this first week. I am going to enjoy the beach. I'm going to enjoy some nice restaurants. I'm going to enjoy my little beach house that I got. We're going to enjoy all of the things. And it's going to be a nice, peaceful harmony. I'm going to meet some folks that don't live in Philly that I barely can hang out with any other time in the year. I am going to really enjoy this week. This is the timing could have been any better. A lot was going on in July. And so I love to have August, first week of August kind of created because there's a lot of different things that I'm going to be doing this month. And I have some cool announcements to make to this episode that I'm excited to put out there. But it's going to be this is going to be a really fun month. There's going to be some cool announcements that are going to be dropping this month that I'm excited to finally talk about. I have been closed-lipped for so many reasons, but I like a rollout, so I got to roll out. But there's gonna be so many fun things happening in August. I have some retreats, I have some dinners, I have a pool party. For those who know what I'm talking about, the pool party is coming back. I will send invites once everything gets on the books. But there's gonna be so many fun. Just August is gonna be really fun because September is going to be, you know, back to a lot. Like September is coming in hot. It's crazy because I haven't done this intense in my life, but like this fall, I've had to seriously sit down and book things on the calendar like 3 months in advance. Like there are weekends, like I think every weekend in October I am booked. I feel like half of my weekend in November is already booked. Like I pretty much have September, October, and November pretty much booked. Like with things, events, and opportunities. Like I think every single weekend from September to November, there's something going on. Like already. Like I'm talking Saturday, Fridays, and Saturdays. Something is happening. October, you all know it's birthday week, and then the following week is anniversary. So that's already a knockout already for October. But even following up, there's conferences and speaking events, and it's this is the life. I get it now. When people like they need to know way in advance a date, I get it. I'm big on that anyway. Like when I do events and things, I always try to tell people save the date way in advance because stuff really do filling up on the calendar. I'm not even complaining. I'm grateful. I'm grateful that my presence is wanted, embraced, and encouraged, and I'm going to spaces with intention and meaningfulness and fulfillment. I'm all for that. So, but yeah, you said about Martha's Vineyard. I know there's been this continual discourse about the vineyard and this Oak Bluffs collection from Polo Ralph Lauren. And talking to some good friends of mine, I just laid down the law. I said, you know what? Let Black people try things. Let Black people try new things. More, I'm going to talk more about that later in the podcast during Ask Ernest. But I think what my answer is, and I think in retrospect, like considering all the different politics and optics and things, but I think we have to allow people to try the things that, we're not telling people to try mega, like don't be a mega Republican. I mean, my goodness. But in certain spaces and opportunities and interests, I think people should try them to figure them out if it's for them or not for them. I think too often there's a certain group of people that want people just to not do anything, or they call everything problematic. And while you can have an opinion about something, some people are going to like things that, they have to fit, they have to experience the thing to know. And I think what has made my experiences rich in the way that I write about certain experiences or talk about organizations or things is that I have had to come to the understanding for myself, you know, um, certain things. Like, for example, Dinner and Blanc. I can tell you that Dinner and Blanc is a mess and it's icky and it's cringy because I did it. There are people who talk about it and they'll say, "Oh, I heard this, I heard that," and you know what? That's fine. People can some people might see something and say, "Yep, that's not for me," and they can live with that and be fine with it. But I think there are some people that are oftentimes so quick to say no to this, no to that, and just completely thumbs down it, and the people who are following that are just practicing what they think is model behavior rather than having an informed opinion about it. And that's let me deepen that. Like we tell folks don't do this because of this. Now, again, let me put a disclaimer because I know some of y'all are gonna run with that. Now, when it comes to matters of white supremacy, outright blatant racism and bigotry and harm, like some straight up like do not go, you do not need to go not go to a Klan rally in order to know that the Klan is X, Y, and Z, right? I'm not talking about that kind of stuff. I'm just talking about there are social activities and things that, like Dinner and Blanc, like Martha's Vineyard, like Jack and Jill, like some of these other experiences, Divine Nine, right? Where folks will say, tell people, this is this is that, blah, blah, blah. But to a certain extent, I do sense that folks that don't partake in those things, that don't, may have not had an educated reason why they choose to or not, they are oftentimes not getting the information or having the experience to make that decision. And sometimes there are people who privately desire these things, but because there is a social norm on whatever it is, they don't. But then they hold resentment and they privately, pivot. It's almost like with kids, like you could tell a kid, hey, don't do this, don't watch this, don't read this. You tell them all these different things. And privately they're like, you know, well, if you tell someone not to do something, it actually makes the thing more desirable in some cases. And so I think what's important is, in some capacities, let people explore those things. And you'll find that if you're right, you're right. But also you got to recognize that there's also certain levels of experience and engagement that folks will have based on a limited lack of resources, networks, or whatever. So for example, Center City Sips. I can't stand it. I think it's a mess. I don't recommend it for folks. But, certain my younger brother, it's something that he's got to come to his own. He's now, it's funny enough, we were talking like last week when he was moving into his new place. And I was like, hey, you ever heard about this Central City Sips? Like, have you been going? What's up? He's like, it's okay. It's, but sometimes I want a real drink. I'm like, what do you mean you want a real drink? But I kind of had that like little smirk, little smile on the side, like, oh, look at him. But I think it was a good thing for him to experience it. Like, it's not to say he don't like it. He just seems to be not as hype about it as he was a couple of weeks ago. But I think there's a certain level of like, there's factors there. He's working. He's he's adulting in his own right. He has had better cocktails from a certain brother-in-law of his, right? He can now realize, these watered down cocktails, these loud crowds, there's only so much of this I can take, right? And I think he had to experience it to realize it's not necessarily the best thing in the world, but you got to experience those things. And so I think what has made me great at what I do, when I think about the journalism I do and the reviews, is that I actually go through the experience. And there are some people where that might be enough for them. And we're going to talk about certain experiences that people have to find out for themselves. We got so much to talk about in this episode. But you got to give people that in certain cases. And so I don't judge folks that step their feet, especially Black people, especially because people always want to tell us where to go and how to be. Sometimes you just have to have the experience. Like Roots Picnic, look, went through it several times. It's not for me, not going again. Some of you all will still want to give it a shot until you have that experience or a experience. You've been burned by Roots Picnic, then you'll go, you know what, Ernest is right. But I don't need to dictate and control or judge folks that still want to partake. If you want to wait in a long line, only maybe you'll have that thing. Maybe that thing will be that thing for you. For my husband, many years ago, there was a huge stampede situation there. Some of y'all remember that. And he was like, that's it for me. I didn't even go that year. And I was like, oh, well, my experience is a little different. It's going to be a little bit VIP, blah, 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 blah. And then I got screwed over and I had the dumb experience. And I'm like, you know what? I've tapped out. Some people seeing those experiences, hearing me, the thousands of you listen to that episode that I did on the Roots Picnic, you might go, you know what? That's enough for me. I know my limit. I'm not about to play with it. But there's always going to be some of you all, because I see what y'all do with some of these men, no shade, that will think I'm different. That may not be for me. I want to give them some grace, quote unquote. I want to try it again. Maybe they'll be better. And you will go and do it again or give it a shot. And that's okay, right? So I always say, hold space for people to try dumb things. Let me not say it that way. But give people space to try things for themselves and learn for themselves. Let people fuck around and find out is what I'm getting to. And like I always say, do what you do, but watch my shoes. Now, there are parameters. If you're one of my friends and you want to sit around with my ops and mingle with them in a certain type of way, I don't know if listen, let's put some provisions here, right? Even with NABJ, we've talked about them before. There are certain people now that hits a little different because they banned me. And so if you're one of my friends and you still want to mingle with them people, yeah, that's a little different. I will say that's a little different. But for people who are not close friends of mine, when I see certain young journalists that go there and want to waste their money to go to that convention, I will tell them, I say, hey, I'm not crazy about it, but I'm not going to judge them or give them hell for going, to explore that. I had the experience. I went. There were things that I picked up from it. There's things I didn't pick up from it. But you got to give people that space sometimes to fuck around and find out, as long as it's not something that's completely in direct violation of you. Again, there's always a disclaimer there. But there are some people that I know that went last year when they went to Chicago and Trump had spoke or whatever, and it was the crazy. They said, "Oh my goodness, this is horrible. You were so right, man. This is not for me." But they had to experience that to find it out. Some people, that's what they needed to do. They had to have it that they had to be in that level of discomfort. Some people are like, "Yo, say less." I'm one of those say less people. 90% of the time, if it's something, if it's something crazy, I'm like, you know. But also, there are some things where you can get value of something in a way where you have a helmet on. I can go to certain things and try to find the value of those things until it's god awful. Ruth's Picnic, which is god awful, right, in that situation. But Martha's Vineyard, when I hear people share some of their experience and thoughts about it, I'm like, well, what kind of experience are you trying to have? For me, I think the vineyard works if you're a person that really do want to have some solitaire, some time to yourself, some solitude. You want to reflect, you want to relax. You want a space that is with some people that's just not from around the way or the corner. Yeah, if you want that experience, you will get that. If you want to be around a space that is with a lot of black people and a lot of the daily microaggressive white supremacist bullshit you might experience in everyday life, you want to get a little bit of escape from that. If you're not counting every single dollar and you're not on a crazy budget, yeah, this is a place to do your thing, right? If you're somebody that you're looking at every price of something, you're on a budget, your cost, this may not be the space for you. And listen, that's okay, right? There's other places to go on a budget and have that same experience. I always tell people that Atlantic City is very underrated for experiences like that, in my opinion. You might say, look, it's too many X, Y, and Z. We ain't gonna say what too many is, but you might say, hey, this is too much. I wanna mix and mingle it. I like snow bunnies, whatever. You want to see snow on the beach, no pun intended. This may not be for you. There's different things. Maybe you say, hey, it's too much families. I want to be where the singles are at. You might realize this is a very family-oriented couples type of vacation. A lot of people don't solo vacation at the vineyard. It's very much friends and networks and things. You might say it's a little elite. Well, you look where you're at. You know what I'm saying? If you may not want to be around that type of crowd, this may not be for you. There's so many reasons why you can navigate what's for you, what's not for you, or maybe you want to go see for yourself and maybe you might find a different experience. So there's all of that to consider, right? I think about when people talk about Ivy League versus HBCU. The gag is a lot of people that go to HBCU for undergrad will go to an Ivy League school for their master's and advanced degree. Is it either or both, right? I went to an Ivy League school for undergrad, but then went to a Big Ten school, USC, for a master's program. My husband went to Johns Hopkins. We didn't go to Ivy for our master's and advanced degrees. We've had the best of both worlds in a unique way. I taught at a HBCU and I taught at a community college. So I've had experience with all different types of colleges to understand personalities and people. And it's shaped the way that I talk about higher education. I mean, how many people can give you that? Can say, I've worked in a community college. I've worked within an HBCU structure. I've been in an Ivy League institution, even taught there. Been at a Big Ten school. I've had all the different experiences. And that shapes my thinking about education and how I talk about it. But you got to give people the opportunity to have those experiences. So I always tell people, let people fuck around and find out, y'all. So this weekend and other things that I've done, Black Star Film Festival was fabulous. Went to some great, saw some great screenings, went to some great parties. Shout out to somebody who on Sunday had a very nice party. I'm not gonna name them. I ain't gonna put their business out, but them and their lovely wife know is a hostess with a mostess, know how to throw a good time, can cook, can party, can throw a nice function. Very much was long overdue for me to come over there. Let me just say that. They know who I'm talking about. And if they're listening, they will text me because they're in the Core 500. Shout out to them. But nice time, nice parties I went to. I went to another party on Saturday, Frankie's Summer Club, which was this interesting space. But good food. It was like an Italian summer, cocktail, little garden party vibe. It was really nice. Um, but yeah, Black Star was here. Black Star was great. Shout out to this movie called Love Brooklyn with Andre Holland. And Nicole Bakari, who I've been a big fan of for ever since she was on the morning show. But there's a movie coming out. They made their Philadelphia premiere at the Black Star Film Festival. Lots of great shorts, films across the board. Great parties and mixers. We're coming back to y'all Friday, November 21st, is the Luminary Gala. That is a big fundraiser. I'm on the host committee for that event. It's going to be at the Switch House on Friday, November 21st. Early bird tickets are on sale now. These tickets are not for the meek because they're meant to raise money. Okay? The early bird ticket cost is $300. Go ahead and go grab them if you're looking for a good time. There's going to be some real VIPs at that party. Some real big honorees. I can't name the honorees yet, but some big names are there. If you love Black cinema, you are going to get your life. If you want to be in a room with some big serious filmmakers and thought leaders and influencers and all that, this is the party. Okay, November 21st, Friday, November 21st from 6 to 11. I mean, there's going to be a party and it's going to be at the Switch House. It's going to be dope. But I've gone to each one of these parties. The first year we honored Telfar, okay? Clemens. Yes, Telfar was in the building. This was at the W. Then they had the Switch House last year. We honored so many incredible creators and artists. And then this year we're back again at the Switch House. It's going to be lit. So telling you all in advance, put it on your calendar if you're interested. But it's going to be a good time. And Black Star Film Festival is fabulous. It's just immaculate. 10 tens across the board. And I love supporting them. I love raising money for them. I love being a supporter for all the great work that they do. In other news, I went to see Beetlejuice, and I will not say that name 3 times. Ensemble Arts, the Academy of Music. Go if you have not seen it. I have not seen this musical. It's one of fair new musicals on the Broadway canon. But it's really fun. It's really creative. Lots of personality. Politically humorous in a way that's very timely. I wasn't expecting that it was going to be that funny and that entertaining, but it was a good time. Definitely a comedy musical, not the traditional classic, Stephen Sondheim, Anthony Lloyd, Andrew Lloyd Webber type of musical. It is very much new, quirky, funny. Yeah, it's good. It was very good. I really enjoyed it. So some restaurants. You all saw my summer dining photo. I went to the Middle Child Clubhouse with a couple of friends for a lunch meeting. And I hadn't been in a minute, but wanted to just, circle the block and see what they've been up to. Wanted to try the BLT because I realized that it wasn't a long line. So Middle Child Clubhouse serves the BLT as a entree. They have 2. They have that burrata that you all love. Y'all love burrata. They have the burrata BLT with all that cheese, that creamy cheese. I did not get that one. I got the Urban Roots one, which is the traditional classic BLT that they do with the heirloom tomatoes. Oh my God, those beef fat. It was a very good BLT. It was very good. Look, I'm never going to wait in a long line for a BLT, but it is a good BLT. If you can go and just have a nice, cute lunch and just stop in and get some fries and it is good. And I had 2 of their spritzes. they have a strawberry spritz that's in season because strawberries are in season right now. Their spritz, they have some of the best spritz cocktails in the city. I've always said that about Middle Child, that they have a good spritz. And so this one was a seasonal one that they have, which is a strawberry spritz. But any spritz at Middle Child is always going to feel like summer, taste like summer, vibe like summer. And that BLT. So I had like the peak Philly summer lunch, a Middle Child BLT with their, seasonal spritz. I just feel like in my head that they should make me have a meal. Like, how like Angel Reese has the McDonald's meal, like she has the meal. I should have the Ernest Middle Child meal, which includes, okay, it includes the Urban Roots BLT, specifically the Urban Roots BLT, and their seasonal spritz. And if you want to be nasty with well, not nasty, but you know what I mean. If you want to get a little extra, your dessert is only one, okay? One, not a whole stack, just one of their special pancakes that they have, okay? The middle, and y'all know what the Middle Child pancake is. It's a really big citrusy flavored pancake that is really good. And yeah, it's a good pancake, and it has that butter on it. That butter with the smiley face from Middle Child. And it's a good pancake. I can't eat the whole stack like that because I had other things, but I have about half of it and I shared the other split. But I just listen, that's a place to get loose. It's called Olivia's Big Pancake. And it has this, it's a malted wheat and citrus zest pancake, golden brown dome. Oh my goodness, it's beautiful. And the chef there, De La Rosa, who's there, Edwin De La Rosa, who is the executive chef at Middle Child, he said it's his recipe, and he says it's inspired by three generations of women, and it's delicious. I mean, there has been other people who have made a pancake like it, but that citrus zest and that malt, that's him. That's him. I've tried other similar pancakes, and I know y'all. There's a Korean pancake. Like there's other companies and groups that have made that pancake, but that citrus zest and that malt wheat that makes it, that's him. That is him, and that's what make that pancake special and memorable. There's certain things in my mind that are iconic dishes, and that is a Philly iconic dish. If I was still that eater, I would put that pancake as on the iconic dish. The BLT, they make a lot of iconic dishes at Middle Child. I mean, they have all their quirks about them, and those are still withstanding. But they do have specific things that they have made iconic, and I can give them props for that. That pancake and that BLT, and I would even say that egg breakfast sandwich that they do. That's definitely in the conversation. But I would say that pancake and that BLT, that those are definitely. They've done some things. So it was a really good lunch, really fun. And if you're not doing anything, check them out. I also caught up with my good Judy, Nina. Nina is back in Philly. She's teaching in Philly. She's a principal actually at a school in Philly. And she's back. She's single, and we caught up. We went to the Wayward for dinner, and it was a good time. And then we ended up going to the W for cocktails afterwards. But we had a nice little Saturday night catch up. And, I just miss her so much. I'm so happy she's here. And you're going to see, if you go out with me, if you go to events, you'll definitely be seeing more of Nina. She is ready to mix and mingle and have a good time. And so I'm so happy she's back. All of my good friends are back. Like everybody's coming to Philly and living and coming return to Philly. My good girl, Charnay. Of course, the Lip Brothers are here. They're not going anywhere. But a lot of people are coming back to Philly. Philly's where it's at. They leave in New York. They leave in New York. There's a mass exodus of real folk leaving New York to come to Philly and, make this city a great place. So, and she's a Philly native for starters. She's a Philly native. So she's coming back home. Like Charnay is a Philly native. They're coming back home. They're returning. They're leaving DC and New York. They're coming back and seeing what's happening. And I kept the seats warm for them because I didn't leave. We've all been friends for 15 years. 15 years. So it's a lot going on. It's a lot. So I'm excited. She was back. We caught up. It was a good time at the Wayward. Wayward got this good tuna tostada that was really banging, by the way. And the cocktails were really good too. We had about two of them, and the cocktails were good there. I was really impressed. We went to the W for drinks, like a little nightcap situation. And I have to say, I've not been to W in a minute, late, but they got like a little club lounge thing they trying to do, and my goodness, so many section tables. Like I don't know what they're like. It is giving night. I don't know is this what the straights be into? Because I haven't been to the W again. Like I said, I haven't been to the W in a long time. And I don't really do the W late at night. It's just, I'm not really a lounge club girl. But because the last time I was at W like late night, I was in the speakeasy private room. I guess, see, that's what I tell you. I don't really do the club. I can't just, but we just thought, let's just go for drinks and it's going to be cute. It's going to be a nice place to sit. When I tell you that they have every little part of it sectioned off, there's reserved seating, I'm like, I didn't know people had to call in advance to sit down. Like, my goodness, this is interesting. But Philly is Phillying. I said, oh, okay. But we did end up finding a space or whatever to sit, but like my goodness, it felt like playing musical chairs there. Just to sit down and just have a drink. But I guess Philly nightlife, this is the things. I listen, this is why I'm always in somebody I'm always I've been I did not know of their game. But this is why I like I said, I think it was last episode, I was saying, like, I can't do the nightclub scene like that nowadays because y'all do it differently. And in other news, because you all have been hitting me up, I wasn't even going to say anything about this, but I guess I need to say something. Chubby Chicks is closing for good in Philly. The location is closing. Good. You know how I feel about Chubby Chicks. I was quiet. I knew things that now is coming out in the public eye. That narrative that owned, first of all, let me just start by saying that to a certain influencer that thought they was a white savior and thought they were going to save these black restaurants and asked me about supporting, sometimes you got to stay out of black people's business, sir. Sometimes you got to just see how stuff play out. Sometimes you'll understand why certain people like myself was not jumping up about Chubby Chicks, because Chubby Chicks had problems before they even hit Philly. I heard about the restaurant in Jersey. I heard about the service issues. I heard about some of the problems that they had. And I just felt like, you know what, that's not something that I necessarily want to encourage my followers to go to, because there's just a couple of red flags that were there. And I just felt like people weren't being fully honest. Now, initially, the narrative of the owner was that racism and the harassment is what forced them out of Chubby Chicks. But of course, reporters are going to report, and there has been reporting that shows that the owner has had debt up the wazoo, rent that was unpaid. There was lots of noise violations and issues with violating that neighborhood, the codes and things of that nature that led to the final demise. They had debt at another location and they didn't take care of that, and that they were just making all this money. Business was good, business was steady. However, they weren't paying their bills in a timely fashion. And so they chose to shut down. They didn't get forced out. That literally they had to pay or they had to hang it up. And they weren't willing to pay and to meet the needs, but they weren't forced out. That narrative, they really spun this racism narrative. And listen, as somebody who talks about racism, cover racism, experiences racism as a black person, y'all know I'm always willing to give the benefit of the doubt. But like I've said lately, there is always a contingency of certain people that will weaponize these experiences, these legitimate experiences, to justify not doing what they need to do. And I think that was in my opinion, I think that was the case with Chubby Chicks. I know too much. I'm not going to spill all that business. I don't have to. They're claiming now that the owner said that they might, go to Atlanta. Okay. Okay. It's funny how let me be quiet. Let me not say that. Let me get my words right. Because I was about to say, I would just say that it's very interesting that a certain subset of folks always go to Atlanta with their shenanigans. I'll say that. I'm not going to get messy and say what I want to say. But I would just say that it's interesting that folks that be with the shenanigans, because I want to say another word that starts with an S, but I know that I can't say that word because I'll have to put allegedly on it, and I don't want to go there. But I will just say shenanigans. And just know that shenanigans, you can replace shenanigans with another word that isn't as long, and it will still work, if that makes sense. But I just noticed that a certain subset of people with their shenanigans will go to Atlanta. They always go to Atlanta. They come to Philly and they do their bullshit. And then when that shit gets clocked, they go tell the next destination is Atlanta. Atlantis is always a destination for shenanigans and other things. Camry without the, Camry takes place. Not saying chubby chicks, but just folks that I know oftentimes. And I'm not saying chubby chicks. Let me keep saying I'm not saying chubby chicks specifically, but other folks that be with the scams say I couldn't help myself. They oftentimes, not saying chubby chicks, let me continue to say that, allegedly, right? But folks that be on a scammery typically run their ass to Atlanta. And I'm not saying chubby chicks, okay? But I'm just saying that oftentimes, the destination for shenanigans or scammery or both or whatever, And again, not saying chubby chicks. Typically, it takes place in Atlanta. They go to Atlanta next. And again, I'm not saying chubby chicks. I'm just saying in general. So, farewell, pay them bills. Do what you got to do. File for bankruptcy. Do what you got to do, But, at a certain point, we as consumers just have to demand better. And we just have to. I want my Black-owned businesses. And I think that what happened with Chubby Chicks is not indicative of all Black-owned businesses. And we got to stop letting the ones that just don't do their shit right be reflective of everybody else that is, right? Omar Tate and his lovely wife who owns Honeysuckle Provisions, right? Sybil, they own Honeysuckle now, the restaurant. They ran their businesses correctly. They have done it the right way. They didn't bite off more than they can chew. They didn't oversell, overpromise. They're focused on quality ingredients. They're focused on really good recipes that nourishes the soul inside and out. Their service is top tier. They're running the business correctly, right? You look at the owners of South, the Bynum brothers, they've had restaurants that have opened and closed, but they seem to maintain excellence in what they do, right? So I want to uplift Black-owned businesses and specifically restaurants that do their thing. There might be a restaurant group that owns multiple new restaurants that popped up. I'm not naming them because I have concerns and red flags and questions about how they operate, but I'm not going to name them. I'm not going to put them on Front Street. I'm just going to uplift the ones that I do think are doing a good job. So, I'll say that. So, moving along, media appearances. You all, at this point, if you go to the link in my bio, there are 2 new uploads and videos of content that is now making their way on the internet. There is finally, you all got to see that debate, the Can You Say That event that took place at the National Liberty Museum. A lot of you all have watched it and have hit me up and told me your thoughts. And here's the thing. I told you all, look, I got paid for my services. I got paid for my time. And that's what I will say. I got paid for my services. I got paid for my time. I don't hold no regrets. But like I told you, that was one of the most chaotic panels I've ever been on. Because people just don't know how to act. People just don't know how to act. And I always tell people, when something's recorded, y'all never going to see me jump out of character. Because when a camera is on, that means that the world is watching. Those who are in the audience and those who are not in the audience. And it's important to always maintain your cool, always maintain a level of self-respect for yourself and dignity. And I will just say there are certain demographics of folks, white, cishet men who are middle-aged, that often feel like they can yell and heckle and act a damn fool. And they think in that moment that the audience that could be predominantly white might rock with that or like that or whatever, but everybody else watching might say, what the hell is going on? And so I've been in certain environments where people will show their ass and they have to reconcile with the decisions of showing their ass. And you just have to just be who you are. That's what I'm saying. I'm who I am, and be great and just stay the course. And so that's what I do. And some people, they just have to learn for themselves. I was also on the Tomi Lahren show. Her show, Fearless with Tomi Lahren. As y'all saw, she showed her ass. We'll talk more about that. But I will say in a nutshell, because I want to make sure I name this, is that you'll say, why do I go on shows like this? I'm going to talk more about that later in the podcast. But one thing I want to be clear about is that I think, and this is what I really truly believe, I think that the GOP, I think that the mega supporters, I think that the Republicans are bored in the entertainment space. I think they're bored. I've noticed, I don't know if you all noticed a rise in content across the board, not just with Tommy Lauren and Pierce Morgan, which I go on often, but just there's been this need for conservatives. They're so interested in debating and talking with progressives and the left in ways that it's been recent months. But there's been a hyper obsession. Like they want to talk to trans people. They want to bring liberals and different people in their space to debate and discuss with them. And I like that to a certain extent, right? But what that tells you is that, liberals don't do that a lot. Progressives don't do that. They always talk about safe spaces. And what I think it is that they're bored with each other. I think that the far right are bored with each other. I think that there's a part of them that just feel on an island of like, what happens when you get everything you want and it's really a mess and you really don't have anyone to either gloat it on, argue with. They're bored. Like they need people like me. I ain't doing it for free. Let's be clear. I'm not doing it for free. But I also think that they just are bored. They don't have any fun. Like they spent the past several years, right? When I guess woke was in and DEI was in, quote unquote, right? That they used to be the pariah, the only person on these platforms. The Candace Owenses, they used to be the only one with their weird opinions. And now they're in a space with a bunch of weirdos like them. And I think they don't like hearing themselves talk. I think they don't like themselves amongst them. Like it's not fun for them. Like the whole bashing libs thing, right? I think they're just over that being in that alone. Like they just want somebody to challenge them. They're bored. And no one in the media, and what I'm finding out is that far right media isn't working unless they have a spice. They need liberal, they need progressive, they need us to give them that balance. They can't do it with themselves. See, one thing about the Democratic space is that there's nuance within Democratic identities, right? They done burnt out all of the quote unquote common sense conservatives. Everybody's mega now over there. Like mega done ate up everything. Like there's no moderate Republicans. There's no space for those people. There's no space. Those people are extinct at this point. They don't really exist. And so there's no fun in programming. Like nobody wants to hear them. No one wants a circle jerk of the same type of extreme conservatives. Whereas with the Democratic space, you got the moderates arguing with the progressives, and there's diversity within our umbrella, our tent, right? And so a young liberal can argue with a moderate Democrat, and there's going to be tension there. Conservatives don't really have that right now. Everybody is saying the same crazy batshit conspiracy theorists, and it just doesn't work for them. And Pierce knew that, right? But see now they're creating. There's no Candace Owens now in that space. There is still Candace Owens, but she's no longer the minority opinion, which made her spicy. There's more people talking like her, so now they've lost their flavor. So now, rather than have a Candace Owens, they need an Ernest Owens. See what I did there? They need an Ernest Owens. That's who I am now. The Candace Owens is the norm now. They need the Ernest Owens now. And that's who I am. I am Ernest Owens. I am going to be that person that she was when the shoe was on the other foot. That's what we're doing here. And we're going to talk more about that in Ask Ernest. I'm going to dive more into that. But I just want you all to realize what's happening. Because some of you are like, why would you go on there? Why not? Because every time I go on there, baby, the case for cancel culture sales, baby, I'm seeing those sales. Every time I go on there, the sale, I go from my positioning on the charts, the sales are there. People are buying that book and learning something. So, just take a note about that. They want to argue about trans athletes all damn day. First of all, there are over 500,000 NCAA players. Do you know how many actually known trans players are in the NCAA? Less than 10. But they want to argue about shit like that all day. They're bored. But let me come on and sell my book and push my ideas and give me that space. Thank you. Appreciate it. So, in some big news, I'm excited to announce that I passed the National Association of Parliamentarians membership exam. Um, and I passed. I passed with an A. And now I am in the National Association of Parliamentarians. And there's a lot of parliamentarian procedure that you have to study and learn before you can be able to be a part. And I passed the exam. And I'm excited. This is dope. You know, I parliamentarian procedure is important. And as a person that's in the organization, that the organization I am, it was so important to me to, educate myself and do the things. And so I took the exam, and most people do not pass that exam the first time. So, there's a whole process and a whole procedure. And so to be able to pass the National Association of Parliamentarians membership exam, to now be officially a member, to go through that rigorous, it was like a 44 question exam, multiple choice matching, and you have to score at least a 75 or higher. And I scored a 90. So I got an A. It's pretty dope. It's pretty dope. And it's just, it's dope. So I'm really happy I passed. I was studying for it. My friend just had her exams, my good sis, Amanda. And so girl, we just out here taking these exams, and studying. Now we are free from exams for now. Right. But yeah, I was really happy about that. And it's great. So other news today, and I'm excited to announce this. If you're listening to this podcast, then you have access right now. I'm telling you all now, go to thepabj.org, and you will now see that registration is now open for PABJ's inaugural Emerging Media Diversity Convention at the Community College of Philadelphia from September 26th to 27th in Philadelphia. Okay? For 2 days, there is going to be an exciting event, none like anything that this city has seen. We are having a convention right here at the Community College of Philadelphia that is going to bring dozens upon dozens of emerging Black and brown and indigenous and diverse journalists from all backgrounds under the age of 40 in Philly. Now, if you're over the age of 40, you're more than welcome to come. There is a rate, though. The tickets for college seniors that are 21 and up is $50. The tickets for media professionals and those who are under 40 that want to participate is $100. And if you're over 40 and you want to attend this event, it is $250. I call it the Shannon Sharp tax. No, I'm joking. We'll talk more about him later in the podcast. But I want to talk about accessibility. This event, but that ticket for every level includes breakfast, and includes lunch, it includes the cocktail open bar receptions that are going to be taking place. It includes your access to all the workshops and the Job and Career Fair Expo. It includes all of that. Okay? So when you come to this event and you buy your ticket, you don't got to worry about spending any more money on anything else. Okay? We got you. Shout out to our sponsors, CBS. Shout out to CBS Philadelphia, one of our top sponsors. Shout out to Community College Philadelphia, who helps support and fund and provide the space for this event. Shout out to all of our various sponsors, Visit Philadelphia and others who have contributed in counting. We thank you. It was so important to make this convention accessible. And the only reason why we're charging something is because we got to get a head count for food and for catering. Miss Dawn, from Details by Miss Dawn, one of my favorite caterers in the city, Black woman who is catering. She is going to be catering the breakfast and the lunch. We're going to be having a reception at Fringe Bar. Okay, shout out to Tito's Vodka for sponsoring that open bar with food. We got you. There's also going to be another opening reception that's going to be taking place off-site. We're going to share more details as we get closer to those dates. At CBS Philadelphia Studios, we're going to be there. There's going to be some special guests in the building. I cannot tell you, but I'm telling you right now, tickets are going to run out fast. When you have an event this epic that's providing this type of opportunities, I've been dreaming of this This is my baby. I am the chair. I am the lead producer of this. I have I'm the executive producer of this convention. I've always wanted to do something like this for a long time. And, when I saw, and what inspired me, because I'm going to be real 100 with you all, when the National Association of Black Journalists decided not to accept Philadelphia's bid to have their convention here, this was like 6 years ago in 2019, they argued that no one would come to Philadelphia. Philadelphia is this, Philadelphia is that. And they really just trashed the idea of having something coming back to Philadelphia. Philadelphia has had the National Association of Black Journalists, the NABJ convention in 2012. They had it in the 90s. But we were at the time when things were good with them. We wanted to, we did a bid. We worked with the Visitors Bureau. We did a big campaign to try to get them to come to Philly. And they basically decided not to. And when I looked at the next 10, they picked their cities for the next 10 years. There was no convention on the East Coast. They're not having it in New York City, Baltimore, DC, none of that. None of their conventions are going to be on the East Coast. And so there was a void, still a void. And I said, you know what? Why can't Philadelphia have its own convention? Why can't we bring folks from the East Coast, folks that need to be there, right? Because people don't have the money to fly out to Chicago. They don't have the money to get a hotel and spend money and all this to go out to Birmingham, and they're going to be in Atlanta and Houston in the next couple of years. They're currently in Cleveland this year. People don't have the money, these young people specifically, to travel and spend that money for lodging, hotel. We should be able to create something in our own city. There's too much innovation. There's too much here. And so for years, the pandemic held us up. All types of, when we separated from NABJ, I had to find different venues. I didn't want to have it at Temple. Initially, the plan was going to have it to be at the Annenberg School of Communication at Penn. And then politics got in the middle of that. There was a lot of different venues. And once I got to CCP and I became a fellow, a part of my project in this fellowship that I have, this is the diversity visiting lecturer and fellowship that I have with CCP. I have a capstone project that I'm supposed to produce, and it comes with funding and support from the institution. And I'm in the English department, and primarily my focus is on communication and media in the CMS program. So, I'm in that program, and I'm creating, curriculum. I'm doing all the things as an academic and a scholar. They wanted me to create a program or an initiative or something. And my project is this convention. And they were 100% behind it. They fully backed it. They gave me the resources and the things I needed to really take this to the next level. And so I'm grateful for CCP for doing that. But what I want this to not just be a one-time thing. I want this to be something that's going to continue to grow. And so if you're someone who's listening to this episode and you want to provide resources, you want to, you know, people that want to sponsor, whatever, DM me, hit me up. If you are a media company or you got connects, by all means. But we want this to be, this to be something that's an annual thing. We want to keep this going because these young Black and brown journalists, these content producers, these influencers, these PR and comms people, they need to have something here in their own backyard that simulates them, inspires them, and gives them wisdom. A lot of the panelists and the moderators and folks, they've been contacted, they know who they are. You'll be surprised. We have a nice slate of talent that's going to be a part of this. They need to see people that look like them, that is even in their own backyard, that can give them wisdom and inspiration, and give them that type of encouragement to keep going, and also give them linkage to job opportunities and things of that nature as well. We don't do enough of that in this community. We don't do enough of that in Philly. And I've heard it for so long, so many excuses, so many narratives. And sometimes you're the solution to the problem that you're speaking on. And so this is my love letter to supporting emerging media professionals and journalists in this city. This is my love letter to diversity, equity, inclusion. This is my love letter to equity and access for people that look like me, young professionals. This is my answer. This is what I'm bringing to the table. And again, I thank all of the media partners and sponsors and panelists and those who've already agreed to participate, who are filling out the forms and doing what they need to do. I just thank you all so much for your continuous support, because Look what we're dealing with in this industry. Like, look at the stuff that we're seeing. And I don't think journalism is dying. I think it's evolving. And I think more people need to be with the program. And so here we are. So if you know someone that's interested, that even if it's not you, you might say, oh, this is not a convention for me. I'm in a different industry. I'm in a different space. But a young person that's trying to get a job, right? And let me be very clear, 21 and up, because we drinking, and I don't want to be checking whisk brands and shit. This is for 21 and up. So if they're a junior or freshman, a little too early for them. Too early for them, right? But we're looking for those seniors in college, right? That are in 4-year institutions, that they're seniors. They're 21 years old. They're 22 years old. They're like, look, I'm trying to find a job. They want to start the year off right. This is for them. This is for them. This is their opportunity, right? It's only $50 for them, right? Equity. I need you to put some skin in the game, okay? I know a lot of times stuff is free for college students, but I need you to put something in the game. $50 I think is reasonable. You can ask a parent. You can ask the organization you're a part of. You got a summer internship. You working. You want to donate. Whatever. I think $50 is fair. Way than fair, because no shade. I know how much y'all paying at the NABJ convention. I know how much y'all paying at these other conferences. They not giving it to y'all like this. And on top of that, you got to pay for, here's the gag. You got to pay for registration. You got to pay for hotel. You got to pay for travel. And then you got to pay for your lunches and your dinners and your stuff. You don't got to pay for none of that with this. I'm giving y'all a solid, okay? Now, my working professionals, $100. Y'all working. Y'all not in school anymore. Y'all got a little money. I know y'all got some money. Because I know y'all spending that money to go to this NABJ convention. And y'all gonna walk out of there with no jobs and frustrated and deal with the anti-blackness. But I digress. $100. You're gonna get what you want in 2 days. You're gonna walk away with a higher chance of building connections, getting skills and information. Listen. My price is my prices. We're not discounting anything. We're not making them higher. There's no early bird. There's no late bird. The prices are set. Get the tickets while you can. We got a certain cap on tickets, but we should have a good number. They're going to sell out. We know this is going to be a success. We know it's going to be a hit. I'm telling you all as listeners that when you all see my social media today, you're going to see a rollout. The rollout, there's several levels to the rollout. The first rollout is today, this week, starting now. Tickets are on sale. We're telling everybody, get the tickets, register now, right? But there's going to be a rollout later in August where we're going to start announcing who these panelists and moderators of these events are. If tickets are still left, there might be still a few, but if you're on the fences, I'm telling you, just off of what you're going to get in these tickets alone, the value was already there. The value was already there. You got 2 open bar receptions. You got a whole job fair, professional headshots, resume reviews. I can go on. You got workshops with some badass journalists and moderators. I will be on one of the panels, okay? So you got opportunities to see me off of that, right? You got breakfast and lunch included. And not just some box lunch shit. You got it by a caterer that I like. Listen, like I told you all, when I do an event, I give people the quality that I want. This is a convention that I wish I would have had many years ago. This is an event that I would have wished that when I was 21 coming out of college, that I would have had. Everything is going to be quality. Everything is going to be intentional and with substance. No one's going to walk out feeling like they wasted their time or their money. Okay? I thought long and hard. This is years in the making. And so, again, spread the word. The PABJ.org, my social media, you all will go on my Instagram page. The link will be in the bio. All the information will be there. You will know about this. Spread the word to somebody who should take advantage of it. Hell, cash app a young person if they want to go and say, man, I want to go. Let me cash app you $50 so you can get your ticket and go. But again, they must be a college senior, 21 or up, because we want them to be able to take advantage of these opportunities. Now, if they're in community college, they just need to be 21 and up, because I know there's non-traditional students. So there's no senior year, freshman year, whatever for community college. If they're in community college, then they just need to be 21 and up. If they're in community college, and it'll be $50. If they're just a working professional that's freelancing, doing writing on the side, playing around on the side, their registration is $100, but they get everything all entitled. So, like I said, check it out, and I can't wait to see you all there. So, let's get into hot topics. Trump is doing a lot right now, as you can imagine. While Trump is trying to get the nation fit, he's trying to build a golden mansion that's going to cost like what $200 million that they're adding into the White House. Why would he be making a golden palace if he's supposed to be out of there in a couple of years? Listen, it's just too much going on right now. Jobs are on decline. He firing the people that are giving us the reports with the numbers and stats. Like, it's just a lot of mayhem going on over there. Epstein continues to linger. I mean, Congress, thank God for Congress. They saying, look, we're not going to give her no immunity. Fuck out of here. She done relocated from the Florida prison to the Texas, prison. It's just too much going on. Stay tuned with Ghislaine Maxwell, whatever. Keep an eye on that whole Epstein thing. That's just not fading. Mega will not let that go. They still are feeling some type of way about that. And he's not helping himself. But what I've also noticed is that Gaza, there's a new bait and switch on Gaza. Okay? Can we talk about the fact that even Trump is acknowledging that the starvation in Gaza, which, let me just say this. These are empty platitudes. Let me not say that I'm not impressed with any of this, but I just want to name it that it is a turning point. There is a turning point happening right now around Gaza. And I talked about it last week, but I want to just continue to name that there is a turning point in Gaza where even Trump's even acknowledging it. He's talking about it. And he's saying, like, look, you can't deny the starvation. Like, Israel has been trying to change the I'm not going back and forth with anybody about this. I'm just like, you cannot justify the bullshit. I mean, everybody's coming out being like, listen, like this whole narrative around trying to say, well, there's not starvation. This is not. Can y'all stop? Can y'all stop? The gaslighting. Like, you cannot tell me what my eyes can't see. You can't. And it's getting played out. Like, I'm not going back the fucking forth with people about this shit. Like, it's getting bad when people who are playing that side is relying on far right, like extreme problematic sites with memes and little random quotables. Like, you've lost it when you rely on memes, like meme language, to defend, uplift these serious governmental positions where you're not leaning on actual real reporting. Like, you're starting to like play at emotional tugs, and that's all you're holding on to be able to defend the indefensible. And I've noticed some people that are really desperate. I've been looking at my timeline. I'm looking at, because I follow different folks to see just different perspectives. But I've noticed that a lot of the rhetoric, they're just they're getting real desperate. The opposition of this is getting real desperate. And it's like, y'all are going to extremes to defend the Israeli government, and everybody, not even the people. See, there were some people that played around with Republicans and danced around with Republicans to defend this shit. I'm just like, why y'all entertaining them? And it's like, oh, well, they're defending. And now those people that y'all was propping up, now y'all, it's bad. It's bad. It's getting real desperate. Because I'm like, there was a time where y'all was, now the New York Times is horrible. Now y'all don't like
that when friendships
the New York
come
Times.
about.
Now y'all don't like the New York Times. Now the New York Times is a problem. Now y'all don't like, certain groups. I find I'm just observing. I'm observing some of the things I'm seeing. I'm just like, oh, so now you don't like this organization. Now you don't like these media. Now the media is a lie. Now, the media is a lie. Now everybody is hating like there's a lot of revisionist history. I've heard some people say, oh, the media hates Israel and they want to make Israel the villain and they've never liked Israel because they're anti-Semitic. What are you talking about? The media spent a good chunk of nearly 2 years trying to downplay what was happening in Gaza. And they did so much in a way that now it's gotten so bad that they can't ignore what's going on. Because at this point, there's barely any Gaza left. And there are people that are starving. And to nitpick at every single fucking photo. I'm seeing people every time a photo, this photo was this and this and this and this. It's like, are you telling me starvation is not happening in Gaza? It's getting real desperate. And some people are just really becoming super tone deaf. Your fear that people are empathizing with Palestinians. You want to say Hamas every 5 seconds. Ain't no one's disputing Hamas. No one's denouncing, no one's not I mean, there's some really good heated conversations happening, and people are just like checking folks and saying, stop it. Like, stop it. Every time we talk about starvation, you want to say Hamas. Shut the fuck up. We all are aware of Hamas as a terrorist organization, and we all denounce it for the umpteenth fucking time. But right now, we want to consider the lives of innocent children and families and adults that, whereas they could be imperfect or whatever, no one deserves this. You want to talk about Hamas? Yes, fuck Hamas, absolutely. But this Israeli government is definitely abusing their resources and the funding. And to these Democrats and to these elected officials that continue to fund them as they drop these bombs on innocent people. History remember this. History's remembering it now. Shame. Shame, shame, shame. And I'm happy that we're seeing members of Congress in the Senate and in Congress begin to speak out. Now, you all want to talk about Marjorie Taylor Greene. I will say this. A broken clock can be right twice a day. I tell y'all that all the time. A broken clock is right twice a day. I don't trust Marjorie Taylor Greene. She's been a problem. I knew she was a problem. But for some of you all that was trying to entertain Marjorie Taylor Greene on her bullshit before she started speaking out against what's happening in Gaza, she said the G word. She said she called it a genocide. Marjorie Taylor Greene, listen, I wasn't aware of her game. She's calling it a genocide. She is. Let me be very clear. I'm just saying, some of y'all, that was y'all girl. That was y'all girl. That was the girl that y'all was backing up. And now she's even saying this is going too far. Look, I'm not crazy about Marjorie Taylor Greene. I don't entertain Republicans like that. But see, to a lot of folks that played with these Republicans on these issues, now what? They done did the 180 on y'all asses. And y'all done propped them up and made the argument that they da-da-da. Oh, okay. And now look at them. And now you want to tell the rest of us, now y'all want to tell us to join in. Oh no, let her talk. Let her talk. Let's see what she got to say. Because you all gave this person a platform. Y'all was funding these people's campaigns. Y'all was playing into those games. And the only people that's really holding it down for y'all is the Democrats on scale. And y'all was like, because y'all just was so pressed on trying to let these people pander to y'all to win their little elections. And now look what's happening. Oh, I see it. So it's a lot, it's a lot to see, the politics unfold in this way. We're in a very interesting time where, look, she's allegedly potentially interested in Georgia governor, that defense secretary, Pete Hegseth, the one who I was talking about a couple of episodes ago, who's just been having just scandal after scandal in that damn defense department. I think he's apparently looking a way out of, the White House, the Trump administration. He's apparently eyeing, a seat in governor, maybe Tennessee governor. It looks like for both of them, the DC GOP is taking massive L's, and I think they know that's coming because they're gonna lose. They're gonna lose the midterms next year. I mean, based on how everything's been going, I just don't see them winning the midterms. And that's not because Democrats are doing great. I mean, Democrats' approval ratings are going low, but everybody ignores Trump's approval ratings are going lower. Like it's really weird. In some cases, some people like the way that Republicans are handling the country, but these numbers are low across the board. I think everybody does. I mean, both sides are not really that pleased with their respective parties right now. Trump's not delivering the way that he acts like he is. I mean, look at what's going on with this economy. Jobs in July were down. I mean, he's doing these trade deals. He's talking about tariffs, but Ford Motors, General Motors. I mean, these car companies, these American factories, they're not necessarily benefiting from this. Job growth is on a crazy decline. We're getting to pandemic numbers. Black unemployment, we're seeing pandemic numbers, y'all. Like this is not good. And this man swore up and down that these moves were going to lead to prosperity and opportunity, and this it's not happening. It's not happening. And now he just wants to fire anybody who's telling him the numbers are not looking good. Fox News can't even uplift the shit. Like they can't even pretend. Like the numbers are not lying. It's just it's fuckery. And all of the lib bashing, you can only bash the other side for so much. Like you can only keep talking about Biden for so long that people are like, okay, enough of that. Can we stop all the navel gazing? Can we stop all the flexing? All the can we you all are so happy you're still in your victory lap that you won that you forgot to do shit. This is the issue with political parties, but specifically with the conservatives, is that they're so pressed on like rehashing everybody. Like, we're still talking about Hillary. We're still talking about Obama. Like, we're still trying to blame them for all the atrocities in the world. We're still doing that? Eh, okay. So, speaking of Democrats, they're dropping a lot of books, apparently. They're dropping a lot of books. John Fetterman is dropping his memoir, Unfettered, on November 11th. Apparently it's a tell-all. He's going to talk about his depression. He's going to talk about his mental health. He's going to talk about, I guess his politics lately. His wife, Giselle Fetterman, dropped her book earlier this summer. And I'm just like, okay, so the couple, they want you to read both of their perspective. I don't know if I care enough about a Fetterman book right now. I don't know. I don't really know if I care. I felt like her book was okay, I just feel like, her book was radical tenderness, the value of vulnerability in an often unkind world. I wrestle with that because I'm just like, well, how do you deal with that when your husband is, kind of responsible for some of those concerns? But I digress. I digress. Um, don't know who necessarily wanted that book, but the I think maybe when the book came out, the book came out July 8th, so it hasn't even been out for a month. Giselle Barreto Fetterman, our book is out. Hasn't been out for a month, and now her husband is dropping his book November 11th. So we'll see what Unfettered, we'll see what that's giving. But he's not the only one dropping a book. 107 Days, the book that we've been waiting for from former Vice President Kamala Harris. It's dropping September 23rd. It's a lot going on in September, okay? In the fall, okay? This book is dropping September 23rd. And she's going to talk about, what that was like. Those that small window of time when she decided to run for president, Biden announces, former president, Joe Biden announces he's not running for reelection, which was nuts. Where were we when that happened in July, right? It was over a year ago. We was in a different world. Even this podcast, there was a lot of enthusiasm, excitement, possibility, and then look what happened, right? But here we are, right? So she's out here talking. She says she's not running for governor of California. She went on a Colbert show, basically said that the system, that in many ways the system is so broken that she doesn't know if it's really worth her energy at time to try to go back into the system and go back into that. So she wants to do more listening. She wants to, travel and listen to different people. She wants to just, go about it differently. She's still in the fight. She says she's not retiring. She's not leaving. She's still in the fight, but she's going to move differently because of this, the times that we're in. And, I can respect that. She hasn't really outright ruled not running for president, but we're going to see. Because truth be told, when she's polled amongst Democrats, she's still one of the highest people that folks in the Democratic branch would like to see run for reelection. People are still in that Kamala high. Some folks are. I like her. I thought that, she did what she could. I don't know. I know this is an uncomfortable opinion. I'm not going to say unpopular because I do think a lot of people do agree with this. But I will say that the uncomfortable opinion is, y'all, it's going to have to be a white man. I think it's just going to have to just be a white man. And a white straight man, because Pete Buttigieg ain't going to be it, child. He's not. He's not for so many reasons. But it's just going to have to be a white straight man. I don't see the country coming back with everything that's been transpired. I just don't see the country coming back with a woman candidate, with a black candidate. I would love for Westmore, but I just feel like it's going to be a white man. It's going to be a white straight man. It's going to have to be the answer. I don't know who that white man is going to be. I hope we have other options that's not Josh Shapiro, because I don't think he is the answer personally. I don't think he is. And that's not because he's Jewish. So before y'all start that, because clearly Pennsylvania, he was the answer to get Pennsylvania votes. I don't think it's because of him being Jewish. I just think the way that he has moved politically and how much we keep finding out more and more about his ambitions and the way that he's operated, I just don't think he's the answer, personally. But yeah, I think it's gonna be a white straight man. I just, unless there's something, yeah, I don't. I think that's where we're at with it, to be honest. Kind of like what happened with Joe Biden. I mean, if y'all pay attention, the only time Trump lost was to an old white straight man. Every time he wins, he's being a woman, whether they're black or white. It just, this country, every time a woman gets in the mix, no matter how bad. I mean, the crazy part is Trump was bad as a candidate in 2016. I mean, grab her by the pussy, all that crazy shit he was saying. And he still lost to a qualified woman, right? A qualified white woman like Hillary Clinton. I mean, this woman at that time was one of the most influential women in politics, leading in that way, right? She had the experience, and he couldn't even, she still beat him with none. Now let's fast forward. He goes against the vice president of the United States, a woman who at this point in time did something that no woman, including Hillary Clinton, could do. And that's be in the executive, family of America. Like, this woman was the vice president of the United States, the first woman to ever be vice president of the United States. That was Hillary. That wasn't Hillary. That was Kamala Harris, right? I just want y'all to think about that. This man lost to her vice president. I mean, to her president, like her boss. Like, her boss beat him. He drops out. There should have been a door opening for her to be next after him. And yet he made a comeback that we have not seen in American history in this modern era. He came back and took the White House. And deep down inside, even though no one wants to admit it, but deep down inside, I believe that if Biden would have stayed, Biden would have probably been elected. I do believe that. That might be an actual unpopular opinion. But deep down inside, I do believe this could have happened. This could have happened. So, take all of that. Take all of that with you. Take all of that knowledge with you. Take all of that with you all. Process that. Because when you look at those margins, Trump won with less votes than he won in 2016. Trump got less votes than he did in 2020. Kamala just did bad, like voter turnout she just didn't do that good. And she was losing by small margins across all these various battleground states. I deep down believe if Biden would have stayed the course, he would have shored up enough of the votes to win. He wouldn't have won as much as he did in 2020, but he would have probably pulled it out. I believe that. I at this point, I believe that. I think the inroads that Biden made with certain demographics of black voters, he would have kept some of those black voters if he would have stayed. I think misogynoir and internalized anti-blackness skewed people away from supporting Harris in a way that just was problematic. And a lot of that was driven by her gender and everything in between. A lot of that played a role in it. The margins are small. He didn't sweep. But he did win, and that's a fact. So, just some food for thought. And there's been a lot going on in media, right? There's been some media changes, as I like to say on this segment. Shannon Sharpe, ESPN gave him the boot. This is following his multi-million-dollar settlement with the OnlyFans, now retiree of OnlyFans, girl that he messed around with and, was accused of rape. There's been a settlement. Both parties have not admitted to any guilt on either side. And there's been an amicable multi-million-dollar payout, as being reported. Everyone's saying, oh, he should listen to Monique. Monique tried to warn him. Ain't no warning a guy like that. That was a man who fucked around and he found out. And I don't think anyone could have saved him, because we have to be honest that there are, and I'm talking to my community, okay? So some of y'all don't listen. If you're not black, this is the part of the podcast where you just listen to this part and you just nod your head and be quiet. Because what I'm about to say is part of the problem always harkens back to white supremacy, right? So Shannon, there is a propensity of black men in power in our community that think that their power comes from being older and being able and having money and being able to pretty much buy whatever commodifying aspects on people are, which is kind of disgusting, right? Meaning that, I can buy a woman, I can get any type of girl I want because I can afford any woman, like as if it's a product, right? And we can talk about how one could argue in these patriarchies and these very heteronormative spaces that, both sides in that dynamic, men and women, play into that commodification. So I don't want to act like the woman who was involved with Shannon Sharpe was not playing into that type of game. But, to be honest, the dynamic starts and falls with the man in charge with the money per se. Do you decide to lean into these types of impulses, or do you actually take a step back, be a mature adult and say, nah, I'm good on that?
right? But there's a lot of black men with power and money that believe that they can commodify experiences, relationships, and dynamics because of their wealth. And where did they get that from? They got that from white supremacy. Like they got that from a culture of white men with power, with money that laid that standard. Like they can't look past it. Like white men and the dominance of white men, especially cishet white men in American society and European society and throughout the world, have always had that type of, territorialness and in colonial mindset around people as property and things, right? And so what's sad is that not all, but a good chunk of black men in power try to emulate that of white men in power. And so these types of behavior, we've seen it before. You could argue you've seen it with the current president of the United States, right? Like there's a lot of black men which aspired to Donald Trump, like aspired to emulating Donald Trump's behavior. And we're seeing that even in pop culture. Like there's always been that, even before Donald Trump, emulating that behavior of rich, powerful white men who own people. Where does that sound very familiar, right? There is a common thread around this. And so it would be intellectually dishonest of me to act as though Shannon Sharp just was a rich man balling out of control and this is just him. Like this doesn't come from a pattern, right? You could talk about Leonardo DiCaprio, who has not been accused, as of the recording of this podcast, of any massive sexual assault or abuse. But like Leonardo DiCaprio has had a reputation in the tabloids and the press of being an older man at this point in his career, but always aspiring to date younger women. And here's the thing: people want to reduce these things and say, "Oh, it's just what's wrong with it?" Listen, when you have a fetish, right? It's not I met this very beautiful person, had a real connection, and I want to be with them, and we connected on some things. Like I'll give an example, even though I know this is going to be so problematic, and I'm not defending the problematic nature, but he's dead now. Renee is dead, but Celine Dion, right? Again, not defending the terms of that age gap, because that age gap is, listen, y'all Google it, okay? I'm not talking about the age gap, right? But let's just say the dynamics of he was an older man and she was a much younger person. I don't even know if I can even say woman, because I don't know if she was. I'm trying to hold this with me. I know, but just hear me out. From what we know, Renee does not have a history of just dating a bunch of younger women. He really took a passionate interest in Celine Dion. Inappropriate, by all means, for both involved, but for him, right? But he stayed with her, and they stayed together, and he was the love of her life. She was a love. They literally loved each other for real, for real. It was there was clearly a connection there. Again, I'm not comparing Shannon Sharp dynamic, because it was not statutory rape that he was accused of, because the woman was of age. She was 19 at the time, and he was in his 50s. That 35-year gap, disgusting. I'm still younger than the age gap between him and this girl. But anyway, what I'm getting at is that in situations where there is an age gap, but it is legal, if it was a Renee Celine Dion relationship where there was a clear love interest there, that was something of substance, I can see that. The issue is that these men, including Shannon Sharp, do not discuss romantic love interest of these women. It's all about, I can get it, I can afford it, I'm dating my wage, not my age. Like they treat it like it's dispensable. And if you're treating young women as disposable in that type of way, then you are literally feeding into the abuse of power and control and the dynamics of that, which oftentimes lead to emotionally or physically or both abusive type of relationships, emotionally or physically or sexually. All of that is a form of control and abuse. And so there is a toleration in society where we have almost promoted or expected older men with money to be able to yield this type of power and control over women, and it's been socially normalized. Only in situations where allegations of abuse or assault takes place that we then shame on the age gap. But normally, it's almost encouraged, embraced, entertained, and humored. So, just saying, you know, we try to say he could have been warned. He could have been warned. There's nothing that could have been done to stop that man outside himself. We got to stop talking about people should listen to black women like as if black women are some utility that has to save grown ass men shit. No, because at that point, Shannon Sharp was so far gone by the time Monique and him had that conversation, or Cat Williams, other people. He had people. People told him. He didn't care because he didn't think he had to, because he thought his money was going to do the talking for him. Point blank, the end. Moving along. Washington Post, there's been a lot of people leaving the Washington Post. It's been a lot going on there. Jonathan Capehart left. We now have only one black columnist there. That's Karen Atia. We're just seeing a lot. Now to this NABJ situation. You all always ask me. There's a lot of you all who are still affiliated with NABJ that for the life of you will not let me be free. I mean, I'm free. But, just for whatever reasons, still care about what I think about the shit. I have seen what's going on. Y'all, respectfully, I have moved on a lot from it. There's some things that still annoy me about it. But overall, I'm clearly doing my own convention. I'm doing PABJ. I love what we do here in Philadelphia. It's something that used to be so important in my life is really now a laughing stock in casual conversation with close friends. It does not keep me up. It does not, everything that I've said, the chickens have come to roost. And this election is coming up this week because I know while I'm at Martha's Vineyard vacationing, enjoying my love, there's going to be people fighting on the 50th year of NABJ's existence to save this organization because it is in dire straits. I used to make the joke because I've been banned for 5 years. Y'all ask me if I'm coming back. Doubt it, highly doubt it. No, not coming back to that shit show. But it's been a 5-year ban, right? And I'm currently have served 2 years out of the 5 of my sentence, right? And since then, everything that's happened since that situation has continued to prove exactly all the things, right? I got banned for being a whistleblower, essentially. I was calling out concerns about the leadership, the finances of that organization. And I had receipts and I called things out. And pretty much for being a whistleblower in many ways, they retaliated against me. And the fact that I was crucial with my board in pulling PABJ from support with NABJ. And so there was a lot of retaliation that took place for me standing 10 toes down. And, every year since, I'm reminded why I was, one, right, and everyone sees that. And at this point, now people are speaking out against it. So for those people who still listen to the podcast and still affiliates with NABJ, I'm going to tell y'all some things that I have heard and things that what I think about what's going on, because you all have noticed I've been a little quiet about some of the people that's running, and you might be thinking that, well, what's up with that? I'm going to be honest about some things that I have not shared all the details to, but I think it's important to say now, especially with people who are undecided on their votes about who they're going to elect for these positions. So let's start off with NABJ, the state of NABJ. It's a hot mess. The executive director, Drew Berry, has left. He was, in my opinion, a mess. He was part of the problem of the organization, in my opinion. But he's left, and people try to figure out why did he leave and what's going on. Well, I've heard the organization is in a $1.6 million deficit, allegedly. They're not doing well financially. They can't even fund a reception for their chapter presidents at this convention in Cleveland this week, right? There's a lot of money issues going on there. People have left. There's been layoffs. For the past couple years, there's been allegations of people feeling like they were terminated wrongly. Their former communications director, apparently, there's been speculation that she claims that she was wrongfully terminated, and there was threats of potential legal action. I can't confirm nor deny if that took place or not, but there's been a lot of concerns within the staffing of NABJ. Now, financially, there's been an issue with deficit. They'll blame all kinds of reasons for that, but those issues were a long time coming. And there was not a lot of public records since 2019 when Dorothy Tucker ended up becoming the president. We never seen tax reports and releases since the Sarah Glover administration when she was president. We hadn't seen a lot of full public transparency around the taxes and the salary amounts and things, which should be public record as a nonprofit. We haven't really seen much in those finances. And so that's really interesting that in this decade, getting tax forms that just keep up with the finances had always been either on the works, not as accessible to the public. It's been red flags, and you're getting major grants from foundations, national foundations and groups, and you're just not really disclosing it for the public to see and the members to see. And that was something I had raised because I had some suspicions. I had people who was leaking information to me and telling me things, and I was whistleblowing on those issues. So there is a big issue with the organization's future. It's not looking good. And that executive director dipped before this convention where they would have had to share this information. So what's going on with the current leadership? Ken Lemon, he's in his first term that's about to wrap up. He is currently the president. He was the president that, pretty much doubled down on my ban. He was the president that supported the split between PABJ and NABJ and tried to create a rival chapter to us in our own city. He's all of the things that is wrong, and he is the president. He is running for re-election. He is going against two candidates. One candidate is named Dion, who, if I could vote, I would vote for him. I think he's a good leader. I think he is everything that the organization needs because he's very transparent, he's very vocal, and he's really doing some good work. And it's been interesting to see a lot of he would be great. He's the answer, I think, to the need and the concerns the organization has. And then there's Aaron Haynes. We used to be friends. We're no longer friends. I will tell you all now why we're not friends, and I was quiet, but I think it's important because this is a time in which people have to make a vote. My issue with Aaron stemmed from my separation, PABJ separation with NABJ. This was somebody who was a best friend of mine. This is a woman who spoke at my wedding. This is a woman who I was really close with. I mean, for those who remember Aaron when she was in Philly, she's now in Atlanta now. But when she was in Philly, we were like Thelma and Louise. Like we were always out and about. When she moved to Philadelphia, she was previously married. She's no longer married. She's dating another journalist at this point, but we were really like close in our friendship. We were friends for 2016 to 2013, about like 6 to 7 years. And, we were homies. And what I will say is what I will be honest about, what I think really ruined the relationship and the friendship that we had, is I think careerism ruined it. I will tell people that careerism, when you're friends with people in the industry, will lead to people making decisions that oftentimes they will choose their career over their loyalty to friends. And then they wonder why they oftentimes feel a little lonely. Erin is a careerist. She is somebody who is always going to chase her career above everything else. And there's a lot of reasons why. I'm not even going to go into that. I think that might be too much to share on this podcast. But I do think that there are people, and there's a lot of people in journalism like this. And that's why I have always made sure that my friend circles have always been diverse with different types of people from different walks of life and different businesses and things, because trying to be friends with other journalists in this industry is like pulling teeth, because there's always a sense of competitiveness, comparison, always about affiliations. There's a lot of fake relationships in this industry. And it's a lot of industry, like music industry. You can talk about Hollywood, but there's always a lot of fakeness for people to want to climb. And I just, at a very young age, I just decided not to play that game, because early in my career, I recognized how lonely it can be, but also how messy it gets. And it just never plays out. I've seen people have fake friendships and relationships and connections with people. And then the moment they get laid off or the moment they're in some hot water, people get brand new. People just go ghost. And it's like, you don't do that to friends. You don't do that to people that you know. And Erin is a careerist. She is very calculated. Um, I think manipulative might be a little bit stronger, but she's very calculated, conniving. I'll say that. And she's somebody that's always trying to play chess. And sometimes when you have friendships, it's not about chess. It's about compassion. It's about actually showing up and being there, and just also knowing where to hold it and fold it. And I always say that, but that's just real. But Erin is a careerist, and she's somebody that every move she makes is always going to be about her and how she wants to move up this ladder and how she wants to move it. The types of people she hangs out with, the types of affiliations that she have, she's always going to play it up to create a certain type of image that's trying to put her ahead in her career. One will say everybody has a little bit of careerism in them. But some people, that's all they are and that's all they have. And we were friends, and I look back at our relationship and it makes me question, even before the falling out we had, was she ever really my friend? Like, sometimes you start looking about everything and you realize it's all about the look. It's all about the appearance. It's all about posture. And that's just not who I am. If people really look at the diversity of the friends that I got some interesting friends that have done some interesting things. And I'm interesting as fuck. I've had highs, lows, in betweens. And what makes my relationships with my friends matter is that no matter where I'm at in my life, no matter what's going on, they're going to stand 10 toes down because they know who I am and they're going to defend me and they're going to be right. Let me tell you what she did, y'all. When the NABJ split happened with PABJ, and a lot of people were talking about it and arguing to bang about it. One, the day that shit happened, which was a tough decision, it was one of the toughest decisions and moments in my career at that time. She never hit me up, checked in during that time. Okay, life happened. She's probably was busy. That's always the note of, is like she's somewhere doing something that's more important than everybody else. But okay, cool, right? But not only that, there was a group chat with some of her industry friends, and people were talking shit. And I won't get into who said what and all that, because there was some people in there that also knew me. And she was in there talking shit. And I thought to myself, wow, this is that clearly this is a moment in time. Everybody's talking about it. I'm in this situation that's awkward, uncomfortable, and a lot is going on. And you can't even give me, you was just a couple of days ago at my holiday party that I had. All up in my face. I just got reelected to the board as president. You was all up in my face, taking pictures, all that shit. And then days later, when this decision happens, you're quiet. You don't say anything to me, but you're in a group chat with your little Hollywood friends, right? And they're talking shit, and you're in there. egging it on, teasing it on, and playing like you don't know a brother. So yeah, I was done. I was done. I was done. We hadn't really spoke since, but in situations where we had seen each other since then, she's passive aggressive as fuck. She's the type that she will never admit when she's wrong. She will never own that what she did was fucked up. She will play victim. She will play aloof, and she will do that, and that's her fakeness. She's fake as fuck. Sorry, thought I was gonna be nicer, but when I think about how that went down, I ain't gonna play it. She's gonna always, you know, want to be the teacher's pet and the favorite among certain people. She's gonna ride coattails until she can't. She's gonna pretend and she's going to act like she's one of those girls. And that's her. But deep down inside, there's a sense of loneliness because everything is conditional, everything is transactional. And this is, again, someone who spoke at my wedding. This is somebody that, you know, I just thought that they would be real, and they weren't. And I was real. I was too real to a certain extent. I was always real with her. Um, I won't even get into the laundry list because what's understood don't have to be said. I'm not going to get there. I'm not going to go there. But I was definitely a real friend. I was the kind of friend that, mm, hypothetically, because I'm going to say this hypothetically, when I met, hypothetically, her and the husband she was with, I was actually cool and knew the husband before I knew her. Not the current man she's with, because she's not married again. But that man was in these streets, and we're going to leave it at that. And I was real as a friend and sharing that and telling her what I knew. She knew. She knew before she even came to Philly what type of time he was on. But nonetheless, people make their decisions. I'm not judging it. I'm just saying that I was a friend and was honest about the things that I saw and the things that I knew. And when she got out that relationship, I didn't play both sides. I didn't hang out with him no more anymore. I was cool with her. I was loyal. All I'm saying is when there was an opportunity to defend a friend at a time in which they was in a very hot, tight position, you save face. You played. And that kind of level of disloyalty, keep it. Because when I'm down, if you can't be around when I'm down, you definitely not going to be around when I'm up. And so I cut her off. I made that decision because I felt like if that's how you're going to do when tough things are tough for me, I don't need to see anymore. Everybody's talking about quietly quitting friendships. I was seeing something in Essence about that. Ain't no quiet quitting over here. If you can't own your shit, if you can't respectfully apologize, if you can't be a real adult and own your shit and acknowledge what you did, what is there to talk about? So we see each other in certain spaces. She avoids me like the plague. She won't say anything. It is what it is. And to even make things worse, when I got banned from NABJ, which was a couple months later, the person that she's currently dating, who I don't talk to at all, he's a fraternity brother of mine. We don't talk to each other at all. We had a falling out that was connected to some of this shit. But whatever. There was an attempt from a group of journalists to write a letter in support of me and to really critique NABJ's decision to ban me because I was the first and only thus far journalist ever be banned from NABJ. She was asked, hey, can you sign on to this letter? It ain't got nothing to do about how we feel about people personally, but just the mere action. She refused. So Understand that when I tell you all that leaving that organization behind, that I lost relationships that I cared about behind that shit, that certain friendships revealed itself, that there was level of betrayal. I mean, it's not the only one. She's not the only one. But when I tell you that I had to literally distance myself and protect my peace, that's what I mean. It was very hurtful. It was very fucked up. And so when I see her running now and talking about standing up for black journalists, standing up for what's right and being a defender and this and third, phony, fake, a lie. When you had the ability to do it for your own friend, you didn't do it. When you had the ability to do it at a time where it was necessary and it was uncomfortable, you didn't do it. I am so tired of people like her and others that are riding the wave of my advocacy, my whistleblowing, and fail to acknowledge the harms that was done to me, fail to acknowledge their silence and complicity within that, and now trying to reinvent themselves like they're some type of reformer. Fuck out of here with that shit. And so, if I haven't ever made it clear, as I am making it crystal clear today, if Erin Haynes loses NABJ president, it's what she deserves. She might win because I can see her fooling people. But I want y'all to know the organization will not be any better than what it is now, because all it's going to be is the same nepotism and cronyism, except it's going to be her bourgeoisie industry friends, and it's going to be that. That's what it's going to be. It's going to be a bunch of platitudes, no strategy. When I look at those campaign platforms, she has no actual platform and strategy on how to address the financial issues within NABJ. She doesn't want to touch those things because it will implicate her and implicate her friends. She's not going to discuss any of the legitimate, real issues happening. She's passive. She's going to talk in circles. That Dion Rabone, the one who was running in that race, I don't think he's going to win because it's going to be a popularity contest. This race is between Ken and Erin. Don't be surprised, though, if Ken wins re-election, because there are certain elements of that organization that is so old school, so paternalistic, so provincial, that they will actually keep that nut in that position, even though it's bad. But here we are, where you got the lesser of both evils, right? You got Ken and you got Erin. And there are the front runners. Dion deserves to win. He should win. Dion is like the Bernie Sanders in the conversation, right? But if Erin don't win, it's what she deserves. If she does win, good luck, girl. Good luck. Good luck. Because there's so much going on there. I could talk so much about just how messy. But I always tell people no good deed goes unpunished. The chickens have come to roost. And I mean, they got a situation right now. They're trying to stop the current board, which is a shit show, from picking the next executive director. I hear that the next executive director they're trying to put forward is Lisa Durham, who is currently on the NABJ Atlanta board as the parliamentarian, which ironically, Erin is in Atlanta and she's the vice president of print for that NABJ Atlanta. And there are people who are trying to stop NABJ from picking their next executive director because they feel like the new leadership team should be involved in the process. I don't disagree with that. But the problem is that they don't have to abide by that, though. That current board can still do what they want to do. And quite frankly, I think they are. They're not going to listen to the concerns of other candidates, other people. They don't give a fuck. But this is the board y'all elected. These are the people that y'all stood by when they were out here silencing people and retaliating against people. Like, this is what you all Baby, this is what you came for. That is what y'all came for. That is what y'all came for. You all came for that. And they're so fake. Y'all was in Martha's Vineyard on panels. Y'all was out here at these conventions with these people taking selfies and buddies. And now y'all want to run against this board now? Fake, phony. And I think some of the members might ask those questions. Why now? Careerism. Because if Erin's NABJ president, that's going to be her relevance ticket. That's going to be the new chip that she's going to use to continue to keep herself relevant in the conversation. And she'll use it as a speaker box. It's going to be Vanity Fair. If she wins, which she has a strong chance of winning, she's going to use it as Vanity Fair. It's going to be about her and, again, a new clique of those mid-age, middle-age, early 50s, 40-somethings, MSNBC broadcasting, the ones that are still left. It's going to be those people. They're just going to create a new old guard, basically, over there. There'll be no revolution. There'll be no real reform. It will just be, we just want a new class of elite in the journalism space that's going to get all the hand-me's and the freebies and the shits, and they're going to platform each other. There's going to be no real radical change. Her platform does not really speak to any of that. Dion's do, though. Hers don't. And it's crazy because even Roland Martin will most likely be the next VP of Digital. I think he's going to be the front runner for that. And that's going to be funny because he's endorsed Erin. Erin hasn't really endorsed anybody, but people have been endorsing her. It's been very interesting. But we'll see how those results play out. Though we'll find out, I think, August 8th. We'll find out what the results are. Either way, I mean, I'm going to be where I'm going to be at regardless. But sometimes it's fun to see a fire across the street that you could have prevented or you tried to prevent. It's always there. So that's that. Now, moving along, Sydney Sweeney. I'm not going to take up too much time about this. I think there's been a lot of discourse on Sydney Sweeney's good genes and whatnot, what have you. Yes, they played off of eugenics. Yes, they played off of the idea of whiteness having good genes. Tommy Lauren and I went back and forth about it. She's blonde. She's blue-eyed. Of course, she's going to agree with the bullshit. As an American Eagle customer, I've been a supporter of American Eagle. I've been buying their clothes. I mean, 80% of my closet, no lie, is American Eagle. It's just a bad pivot. It's stupid. But they're in the meme economy, right? They're meme traders, meaning what I mean by this is that they're making a lot of money off of this controversy. A lot of people are investing in American Eagle. They've always been a safe stock because they've been a consistent staple. They have outlived and outpaced the rise and fall of Hollister and Abercrombie and Fitch and Aeropostale and Old. They've always been a consistently successful brand. And I love them for various reasons because I love American Eagle because no matter what size I've ever been, I can always wear jeans and clothes that look and feel good on me. The jeans, the pants, the shirts, the tops, everything that they have, there's always been a good fit for me no matter what size I was, and also always looked good, felt good, lasted longer, the quality. Y'all, I got some beach shirts and some paisley shirts that I've had from American Eagle for like over looking at some of them shirts I have for like nearly 10 years. And they still look good. They're still in season. They still got flair. I still look good in them. You know, they just got really good timeless clothes. And I'm disappointed with what I'm seeing happening over there because it's a mess. But I want to put this out there. And this is what I said on Tommy Lauren's show. We're going to see more of this, y'all. Get ready. We're going to see, Dunkin' Donuts is playing off of some jeans with a white boy. Like, it's just a bunch of bullshit that is placating and pandering to the right, to whiteness. DEI is on his deathbed right now. Wokeness, as some people want to call it, is dead. And the right has their moment. They're having their moment. They're having their Monsters Ball. They're having their time. It's their era. And so we're going to see a lot of this. We're going to see a lot of this play out. And I just want the right to stop acting like they're mad that we're pushing back and resisting. You're getting what you want. For every action and causation, there's a reaction of equal force. I mean, that's what Isaac Newton said. There's always going to be a reaction. And so what's funny to me is that we've seen the machine. And guilty as charged, I play in the machine, right? I play in the machine because the machine when it pays, I'll play. But it's always the same thing. In this era, we're seeing is that there's always going to be white people that are going to do problematic shit. The left, for a better lack of a term, is going to respond, and the right is going to complain about the left responding. And then they're going to the right is going to keep doing what they're doing, and it's always going to be that. And with Tommy, it's like, girl, you're feeding into it. Why do you need to react to what the fact that people are reacting? You've won. You all are getting what you want. And I say this to every time I'm on her show. I say, you're getting what you want. You're the cat with the cream. Stop fucking licking yourself. Like you have it. Y'all won for now. You got it. And I'm just keeping it 100. Show your ass. Enjoy it. Enjoy while you got it. Because let me tell you something right now. Democrats, if you get this back, and they will, go the fuck hard. And I think that's why voters are on the fence with Democrats, because we don't believe the verdict is still out on if they will actually show up the way they need to put the fight. We don't know. The verdict is still out. So hopefully they do. But yeah, I mean, Sydney Sweeney, we all know her situation. She's got right-wing leans. I mean, she's playing into it. She is the princess that of the far right. That's who y'all thought Taylor Swift was. And I kept telling y'all Taylor Swift was not that. And you all have realized that now, thank God. But that's who Sydney Sweeney is. Just to put that in perspective. That's who y'all thought Taylor Swift was. You know how y'all was like, oh, she's the Aryan princess, all that bullshit. And Taylor has made it very clear who she endorses, who she supports. We know her politics. Sydney Sweeney, that's who it is, y'all. That's the one. And they've been protecting her and liking her. You know, the whole boobs thing. They play into her so much. And she leans into it all. You know, white privilege on steroids. So that's that. Now with local politics, I have some updates. For you all. Last week's episode was loaded, and it was loaded. You all were like, oh my God, 5 hours. Clearly this episode is not going to be 5 hours long. However, I just want to say I have some updates. So let's talk about the situation that involved Terrell Brown, who was the former Office of LGBT Affairs Director, Brandy Blocker Anderson, who was the former DEI. The city's already found her replacement. She's already been replaced for her role. They have not replaced the Office of LGBT Affairs role, I think. I think they're trying to move some things around, but they're filling in vacancies over there. That Park administration is rolling out people like going here today, going tomorrow. But since the last time, I do have some updates for you all. And I just want to be clear that I have sources that told me these things, and some stuff has been public. So let me just say some things. Chris Daly has been moved to the managing director's office. He is no longer the deputy chief of staff for the park administration. They've now put him in the managing director's office. He was not fired. He was just put into another office. He is no longer in the role that he was in. Also, other confirmations. Remember how I kept telling y'all that I heard sniffies from a source and that y'all kept saying grinder, and I was like, it's actually sniffies. Sniffies is correct. It was Sniffies app it was Sniffies Gate, as some people have called it. They were on the Sniffies site. Other details that I have heard and other things, again, allegedly, because I hear some things. Now, Brandy Blocker Anderson has been publicly sharing information. Now, do I want to talk about her first? Hold on. Updates on Tyrell Brown from sources close to the situation. Tyrell did not get a financial settlement. He did get to claim unemployment. So his termination was done in a way, apparently. He was fired. Now, this whole argument around mutual agreement, they both agreed, but he was fired, though. They did terminate him. However, part of the deal behind the scenes was that the termination was connected to they allowing him unemployment. So he does get to file for unemployment um, and be able to get those benefits as he, sees fit. So that was what was given to him. As far as Brandy Blocker Anderson, I'm not in the impression that she was given the same privileges and benefits in the way that Tyrell was given. So Ty- Tyrell was, they, them. Let me make sure I use the pronouns correctly. They, them. They were given, Tyrell is given the ability to do unemployment, which sometimes when you get fired, you don't get that. If you get terminated on a bad notice, you don't actually get to reap those types of benefits. Tyrell do. So I guess that was the compromising thing. From close sources, I hear that Tyrell Brown is extremely embarrassed by everything. They are completely embarrassed by the situation. They just want to move forward. They did not expect things to go down the way it did. They just really want to move on. Apparently, they just do. They do have a time window apparently to consider suing the city. There is a window. Um, I don't think they most likely will consider doing the lawsuit, but if you want to sue the city, there apparently is a window. I forget, like a year window, maybe less, but there is a statute of limitations. You can't just come back 5 years from now, whatever. So just wanted to update you all with that new information. Normally that's what happens when I do a podcast. People want to speak more and share more and give more details just for their own reputations and whatnot. And I'm not talking about Tyrell Brown or Brandy Blocker Anderson. I'm talking about just other people connected to the administration. So let's get to Brandy Blocker Anderson. She's been talking to media personalities and she's been out here talking in the streets. And some of the allegations she's been making publicly against the Parker administration has been very strong. And I want to make clear that everything I'm saying has been alleged by Brandy Blocker Anderson in public spaces that I have seen, listened to, and been aware of. So I just want to put that there. She has alleged, Anderson has alleged on various occasions that basically the Parker administration is very much chaotic. That there is concerns that she has with Vanessa Harley Garrett, specifically her. She alleges that Vanessa, who is the chief deputy mayor for the Park administration, that this woman, even though she has a legal background, allegedly does not allegedly that she has a legal background. She has a legal background, but she's alleging that this is an administration that likes to delete things, do not like to document things, not to write things. And she makes a strong allegation that there was complaints about child abuse at DHS, and that when Anderson provided this to Vanessa, that she was told to delete the email, to delete the information. That's the allegation that was made by Brandy Blocker Anderson. She says that there's been lots of threats of any time that there's an issue within the administration that they suspect things, they always threaten to call the inspector general. The inspector general, for those who don't know, is basically the internal operations that, if given an inquiry, they do an internal investigation. I've heard from close sources that there was an inspector general investigating Terrell Brown, looking at their social media, looking at their social media account and things that they said, and reports back that when an inspector general is triggered, that allows for a probe to start. And that type of stuff is a tactic, a weaponization that apparently the Park administration threatens to use or has used on employees whenever they want them to get into quote unquote line and quote unquote stay on message. That there is a lot of retaliation, threats of retaliation, that the weaponization of the inspector general's office has been used or been referenced to. All these are strong allegations, people, that in these exchanges, they don't like any type of paper trails, that things need to be deleted, things don't need to be responded to, that they rule with that type of iron gritness, that plans to shut down DEI initiatives and plans was done long before Trump was even reelected. That this administration is pretty much, that the Office of LGBT Affairs and DEI was so much castrated in influence, that the concern was they were glorified event planners, that they were only interested in events that they could do. But as far as policy or anything else, allegedly that was not of interest to the park administration. Tyrell Brown has told people, according to close sources, that they never really had any real FaceTime or interaction with Sherelle Parker, the mayor. That most of the time there is a real strong level of guard from the mayor, from a lot of these appointees, that the mayor does not really interact with a lot of these people in these positions. That the day-to-day operations and people is Sincere Harris, is Tiffany Thurman, and also Vanessa Harley Garrett. Those are the three in power that are also the leaders that rule with an iron thumb, allegedly. They're the ones that are allegedly threatening employees with retaliation, with inspector general notes, with all types of micromanaging. They are really big on micromanaging. And that is something that I've heard from other sources. They don't really allow for their staff to talk to the media or the press. They really clamp down on that. They're just very, very tight over there. And if they think that people, apparently, Tiffany Thurman has said, no pillow talking, she's very big on people not saying certain things. I hear that they listen to my podcast religiously, that members of the administration, which I'm not shocked about, but apparently they do care what I say, and they do monitor what I say on the podcast and that they use that as a way to leverage to figure out who told what and who said what. My sources are strong and they're really close. And, listen, I've also heard from those sources, allegedly, that sexual harassment is not taken as seriously by this administration, that there's been several instances, other concerns have come up with certain other people who's been appointed for positions, that there's been concerns of other instances of sexual harassment, and folks have either lost their jobs, been suspended, or not been allowed to file formal complaints. That's also what I've heard. And that what took place, there were concerns in other appointees that were accused of sexual harassment. There's certain interns that was within some of these departments within the park administration. Young ladies had expressed concerns or discomfort, and things were said, don't, people were just like, leave that alone, delete that, don't talk about that, don't whatever. There a lot of times everything gets swept under the rug. Now, do the park administration, I mean, does Mayor Sherelle Parker, is she aware of this behavior? One would assume that she should be, but there's just a lot of open-endedness there. Things need to be in decency and in order. Has been the theme of some of the things that I've heard. But that being said, I got some other questions. Where is the budget, Harrisburg? Okay? Because I'm hearing about the possibility of teachers going on strike. There is a lot of people saying there's a possibility for teachers might go on strike. There is a lot of that happening. There is speculation about teachers going on strike because of everything that's happening in administration. We see those things, right? We recognize those things. All that is true, right? But let's be real. What's going on? What's going on? What's going on? Because it is real, right? Teacher strikes are real. So we're gonna see if they actually go on strike. But remember, I told you this was coming. So stay woke. But back on that damn budget, Harrisburg. It's too many of y'all with these reels doing all this social media shit. SEPTA. What are we doing about SEPTA? Because it's getting real out here. Kids are about to go back to school very soon. What's happening with that? So there's been a lot of threats about the only Republican state senator, I believe, in Philadelphia area. They've been trying to get him to come back to work and address this. So there's a lot of conversations happening around it, but it needs to be mentioned. And then before I move on, earlier on Instagram this past weekend, I talked a lot about social media, the social media addiction of Philly politicians. And it's not just Philly politicians, a lot of people are doing it. But I want to talk about the rise of reels that has been taking place on these social media platforms. A lot of your state reps and city council members are trying to get in the reel game. And a lot of them have been doing it. Some are good, some are bad. Some of the music is a little weird. Some of the music choices. I mean, just the obsession with using Jay-Z all the damn time. It gets played out. Or that lights, camera, action by Mr. Cheeks. I mean, I don't know why they keep playing that. But there is a level of tone deafness in some of these reels where everybody wants to let you see that they're at work. And yet, I wonder, what is the work? It has become glorified. I just got to name this glorified ego boosting. Are you actually giving us information, or are you just flexing yourself in a way that feels like a glorified campaign ad? I do not like a lot of the reels that I'm seeing on social media. And it's not because of the quality. Some of the quality is just bad. But because some of it is just like, what the fuck is this? So I got to name some interesting things and be very candid about this, right? One of the most interesting people who've been doing the reels of this era has been Council President Kenyatta Johnson, City Council President Kenyatta Johnson. I do not like his reels. I have to be honest. Let me be very clear. The direction, like the editing, right, is great, right? But I don't know what the fuck is going on. Like, he's on a lot of these reels, and it's him walking in and out like a commercial, like a celebrity. And I just think it's cringy. And then the music is just like, what are you doing? What is going on here? Why is this? What the fuck is this? Like, it's just cringy to me. It's like, oh, you're in the suit, you're walking in the rooms, you're dapping, like that's okay if you did that like once a year. But like, that can't be the way that you model and demonstrate your leadership. What a waste of good film. And what's also annoying about it, because I can now say this, that, I'm at city council every Thursday when I host my show. There's now a social media hand that is there and literally has people having to move out the way, like they're directing a music video, so that they can clear it out, so the council president can walk, so they can film him walking into hall like it's a fucking movie, like it's scripted. That's fake. That's disingenuous. Like, you're mimicking and it's performative. Literally, he's performing. So you're telling him, walk in now. Like, cut, set, action. Like, is that what our taxpayer dollars is funding? It's for a bunch of glorified media folks to make reels of people looking like they're working and doing their job, or glamorizing it? Like, what the fuck are we doing? So, definitely not a fan. The editing is cool, but not cool for a city council person. Like, if he was a model or an actor or whatever, okay, that would be a cool ass reel. But you're not a celebrity. You're an elected official who is making important decisions. And these reels make it look like it's an SNL clip. Not a fan. Then there's Morgan Cephas. State Representative Morgan Cephas, who personally I don't think is going to run for Congress. I don't think she's running for Congress. I don't think it's happening. That's just my opinion. But her content a little better than Kenyatta, but still plays up this level of cutting that I think misses the mark. And it's funny because some of her content goes ebb and flow. Her reels, when she do that editing stuff, is a little cringy and I don't like it. But when she does take the time to talk and explain policy, she's really good. More of that, please. And less of whatever the hell them little videos y'all be trying to do music. I'm going to call the political music videos at this point. Vincent Hughes, Cat Daddy, joking. Vincent Hughes, his stuff, right, the videos that he do, a lot better than what Morgan and Kenyatta's doing. But the thing with him is that it still feels like a campaign ad sometimes. Like he's like, I'm on the steps of Harrisburg. We know you are. We know what that. Why are you talking? Like, stop all that. Just get to it. But I feel like that's a little bit of his age because he's older, and so he's very comfortable on camera. I mean, he's married to an Emmy award-winning actress, Shirley Ralph. Of course, he looks good. He talks well. He says something with purpose. I do like seeing what I see with him. The editing sometimes feels a little cheesy. Sometimes it feels a little dramatic, but he does lean to the substance, right? Now, people who I really like, the reels. State Representative Amon Brown. Say what you want about his politics or whatever. But he probably has the best reel game consistently. I like his reels. I like that he's engaging in community. When you see his videos, he is in the paint. He's in Harrisburg, they say barely attendance wise, but he's in the streets. And I love that he's actually active in what he's doing. Like when he's out there giving food out to community outside his office, he's in action. He's in community. And I think even when he's in Harrisburg, he's in the space and he's always authentically himself. You're going to see him with those bell-bottom pants. He just had a birthday. Happy birthday, Armin. But he is going to be himself and he looks good. He's talking good. He's speaking. He's giving you information that I think is worthy. And so he gets a lot of likes. He gets a lot of traffic. He makes the right collabs too. Like he's not collabing with randos. He's getting his message out in a very smart way. Who's ever advising him and consulting him is doing a good job. They're doing a really good job. Smart people. See, you got to call the experts. I'm just saying. Good, whoever's telling him is telling him right. But see, a lot of these elected officials, y'all need to call some people that know what the fuck they doing. Y'all doing it in-house too much. Talk to some people. But I think Amon does a really good job. Another person does a really good job is Andre Carroll. He just started really getting into the real game recently. But again, following that same model. In the community, doing the work a certain way. You know, my brother is the one who produces his reels. Shameless plug. But I think he gets a good. I think he's doing a good job. I think my little brother is learning some things. But again, I think that his reels are very good. I think that Andre is in community. He is giving people useful information, and I think that that's important. I think the reels got to have a purpose if you're an elected official. You can't just be out here just flexing. Other people who's been doing it and not doing it that well, Curtis Jones, city council member Curtis Jones. Now, let me tell you about Curtis, though. Curtis is trying to get somebody. He's actually put out a job search. He's actually looking to hire somebody to actually help him. So shout out to the fact that he's actually willing to put some money to hire someone to help him with his messaging, because he is. If you're interested in that job, if you're a young person, know a young person that wants to do that job, has some writing samples or something, Curtis Jones is looking to hire somebody, okay? The job listing is out on his social media, and he needs the help, because I've seen some of his reels, and I saw one of his recent reels, and I just was like, who thought this was a good idea? But bless his heart, I hear he's looking to hire somebody, right? Then you have City Commissioner Omar Sabir, who recently did a reel that I saw, and he was going to the Mushalu for an event. Now, there's a video of him just walking to the Mushalu. And I thought something was wrong with the video. I was like, well, where is he going? What's next? Everybody was like, oh, he's going, he's coming. Where is he coming to? He's just walking. And that was the reel. We got to do better, people. We got to do better. Whoever made that, just no. Just no. And then, there's a lot of people I can name. Like, Shapiro has a very decent social media game, but we all know that he has increased his budget so his Vanity Fair can be. And I think the issue is his stuff is good. I think the problem is that it's a little too good. And what I mean by too good is that you start to wonder to yourself, is this soft campaigning for something else? Like, are you utilizing this visibility to a point where it's an ego boost? To the point where it's like, this is campaign, it's giving Kamala levels. But listen, if you got the budget and you spend all that money, you hiring additional staff to do the shit, It's good content. Some of it is a little forced, a little bit, but I know that's just me being nitpicky because I'm just an expert at this. Most of y'all, it will fly over your ears and head and think it's good. I mean, he just knows the trends, but he's got a bunch of Gen Zers in there working in the lab doing this stuff for him. But it, but my only concern with it is that it's so good that it feels like a campaign and it just feels a little disingenuous at times. And I don't know how they balance that. I don't know how they can balance that. And quite frankly, I'm not on the payroll, so it's not my job to tell them those ideas. But I'll just let some majority white folks that work in that department, diversity, equity, inclusion. Where is it at? I'll let them figure that out because we just in the videos. We're not actually directing the videos. But I digress on that. Jordan Harris is doing some good stuff with his reels. He's getting better. Better. He's hilarious. He's leaning into the humor. He's ticklish. And what I do appreciate about him is that he is trying to explain things to everyday people in a very fun, productive way. And so I do think overall he has a really good platform. He's been doing good with his reels and his content. I will give him credit for that. I think his team has gotten better. He gets better. I think it's good to see him having fun, having some joy in general. He's had a tough year. But I do think it's good to see him having fun and being thoughtful about what he puts out and how he does it. So kudos to that. Now, another person who I'm not, again, it's concerning, right? The park administration, the reels, the issue with those reels is that they just don't pick the right things to record and do coverage on. That whole DC 33 debacle, I don't think I would have used a lot of her on that listen, when she was at that podium and she was yelling with that black hat, I don't think I would have used anything from there. Maybe I would have taken some pictures and did a post with photos, but I don't think I would have done a reel of her like that because it's been used as memes. It's been mocked. It's been, it doesn't look good. It doesn't look good. Her team is making the issue with them is they do have Sherelle Mayor Parker in action, but in the wrong ways. And I don't think they have realized, like, you might want to use, you're doing the reels appropriately. There's some good reels, there's some good editing and cutting, but you're not necessarily highlighting favorable things that she's doing, which leads to more PR problems than good. And so that's my critique with that. So, that's my feedback on that, you know. So, as we move into this week's Ask Ernest, I want to talk about the direction of my career and what I've been doing and, summarizing this all. A lot of you all talking about my Tommy Lauren appearance and, where I'm at and what I'm doing. Here's my critique, and this is some feedback I want to give that new lessons that progressive should learn. We got to stop being in echo chambers. We're going to become the right in that regard. We got to stop pandering to our base and base alone. We have to step into the dark side. And I'm not saying become dark, but we got to fight. And now more than ever, we need to stop placating to I need to be in my safe space. I'm just whatever. Look, I understand there are some people that deserve to do that, okay? Black women that say, look, I don't want to argue with these people. Okay, fine. But men with decency, let's step up. Let's show up. Let's get out there let's get out in the field. I think there's too many progressives right now in this era that are still playing the book that they played last go around. Listen, the times have changed and I have to evolve with the changes. A lot of you I've noticed for the past year or so that I have been very intentional on going into uncomfortable territory. It needs to happen. We need to be fighting these people on their bullshit. I have a legacy that I want to uphold. History is going to look and say, during this time, where were you? And I'm not talking about just myself, but all of you. Where are you? Because it cannot just simply be you only in spaces that appeases you, that uplifts you, that kisses your ass. Because if that was the plan, then we should have won. We got to go out in these streets in different ways, in our own way. Streets is a euphemism for other things. It does not mean protesting. Yeah, that's cute, whatever. But also in territories, right? My mission is that I want the majority, not all, but the majority of the spaces and places that I'm speaking on, I want to disrupt. I want to be in disruption. This is the time to disrupt. And if you're not showing up in spaces to disrupt, what are you doing? I want to be in spaces that are going to fortify me to disrupt. That's all I'm in. I'm in spaces of healing and nourishment so I can then fight the battles to disrupt. I want to be with my people in community. I want to eat. I want to, build and learn. And then I want to go back out and I want to fight. That is what we need to be doing. We need to be recharging, and then we need to go out there and continue to fight. If you're just sitting up somewhere in a safe space, everybody's liking you, everybody's kissing your ass, everything is cute, and that's all you're doing it wrong. We all have a part to play, and we need to disrupt. When I'm on Tommy Lauren's show, I am disrupting the misinformation, the bullshit, and the lies that they want to sit up and talk about in their little echo chambers. When I decided to go to the National Liberty Museum and I sat on that panel with those people, I was there to disrupt the narratives of what they're saying about our communities, our ideals, and what we're about. That is what Candace Owens was doing. She was disrupting progressive liberal spaces, and people gave her a ticket to, right? She was disrupting those spaces to push her ideologies. And guess what? People was listening and adopting them. We gotta do a 180 on that. We need to go in these conservative spaces, disrupt those spaces, because there are some people that's in those spaces that are listening to what we're saying. We're changing minds, and we don't want to acknowledge it. Every time I go on Tommy Lauren's show, copies of The Case for Council Culture is getting sold. People want to understand my thoughts. They want to get to know me. They're not all hate reading what I'm saying. Some of them are. But we got to disrupt. And so for me, if I'm only going to be on the Joe Budden, I'm going to throw shots because I'm going to keep throwing it. If I'm only going to be on the Joe Budden podcast, if I'm only going to be on spaces where everybody likes each other, if I'm only going to be on MSNBC, if I'm only going to be on platforms where everybody agrees, I'm doing it wrong. I'm doing it wrong. Hassan, Mehdi, all these people, they're fighting the fight. And look, some people may not have the fight in them, and that's fine. But please do not shame or criticize folks like me who's doing it, because it needs to happen. It needs to happen. You cannot let them get away with this. I want the history books to show that I pulled up on these people and I fought the fight. That I stood 10 toes down. I let them people know, no, you're not going to say that this isn't eugenics. To go on Tommy Lauren's show and tell Tommy Lauren about herself and about that president and about that, because I know that the mega base is there. Now, will I go to a mega rally? No, because I do value my safety. We got to be smart. But to be on their podcasts and their shows and their platforms and to speak my gospel and to preach the word, that is important. See, I'm not doing what Pete Buttigieg and Gavin Newsom is doing. They're cowards. They're placating. They're trying to pander to the right. They're trying to, no. I'm not going there to find common ground. I'm not going there to appeal to them. I'm going there to shut shit down. I'm going there to pull the wool over them. I'm going there with a mirror to say, look at what you're saying and look at the hypocrisy of what you're doing. I'm going there to fight. I am going there to disrupt. We are not the same. When Pete Buttigieg goes on those platforms, he's ass kissing. Typical white man shit. When Gavin Newsom got on there, they want to entertain and kiss these people's ass. That's not what I'm here for. So understand that any space that's uncomfortable for people, right? That is right wing, that is in that way. Understand that my intention to go there is to disrupt. I am doing exactly what my good cousin Candace Owens is doing. She comes on these platforms. Y'all, listen, she's there to disrupt. And like I said before, there's the Candace Owens, but there's also the Ernest Owens. If the liberals are going to keep inviting Candace Owens, then the conservatives need to keep inviting Ernest Owens. We got to meet them and we got to shut them the fuck down. They're going to have their way these next couple years, but they shouldn't have it willy-nilly. We should not take a knee and bow. So if you was confused about what my plan is and what my agenda is, it is to disrupt. And that is what I am doing. I go on that show and I enjoy going on that show. I have a fun time going on that show because I am able to check these people on their platforms. They invite me to their house for me to disrespect them. Kudos. And the reality is that they need it. Let's be clear, they need it. And people be like, I'm worried about you. Baby, don't you? You can't worry about me. You ain't done what I've done. You don't understand it. And it's okay. I've been in this game for, nearly 15 years. Over 10 years. I've been doing this shit professionally for over a decade. I've been on all the shows. Fun fact, me and Tommy did a show together 10 years ago. She was on a show called The Blaze. That was Glenn Beck's channel. And I was on that show in 2015. In my 450-month studio apartment. Me and Tommy Lauren go way back. We've been on shows together for years. We're not friends. But we know what we see each other, as the girls say. We see each other. She know when I come on what time it is. She might be a masochist. She might like it. She might like the pain. She might have a fetish for black men that's gonna come at her. I mean, I'm gay, but like, there's something to be said about it, right? But that's what it is. And I think we gotta be, if you're in a position to fight back, fight the fuck back. As a black man, as a black queer man who is in the space that I'm in, I can afford to fight back. I know there are some black women who are tired, who are exhausted. I know there's some trans people that are exhausted. And that's where we, and I don't like to use the word ally in this, but as accomplice for trans people, I'm going to always defend transgender people. I'm going to always defend black women and all of us. If I have the wherewithal to do it, then I'm going to do it. That's me leaning into the privileges that I do have in these situations to step up and do that. Because somebody's got to do it. All of y'all doing the, I'm checked out, I'm taking a break. Hold on now. Y'all, some of y'all, what are y'all doing? White women. What are y'all doing? White men who are liberals. Y'all don't get to take a break. What you taking a break for? What work did you do during that time? Because if y'all actually did the work that y'all was supposed to do, black people would have that work even as harder. And also, we would have probably won if y'all did what y'all supposed to do. Y'all didn't go out there and talk to y'all cousins. Y'all was too busy coming to black people telling people how y'all disown y'all family members. That's cute, but y'all didn't actually convert people. Y'all didn't get them to the voting booths. Y'all didn't do what y'all supposed to do. Y'all was too busy trying to act like we had so much in common. Fuck all of that. We're not the same. We're not. And that's okay. I'm not the same as a trans person. I have certain privileges that allows me to navigate in this society in different ways that trans people don't. I'm not going to deny that. I'm going to disrupt that. Don't deny it, disrupt it. That's a quote. Don't deny it, disrupt it. Don't deny the problem, disrupt the problem. Don't deny it, disrupt it. Yeah, I'm gonna use that. That's this episode. Don't deny it, disrupt it. Because we're in we're in an interesting time right now. And there's too many people getting lazy behind that wheel. And we gotta check that. So that's what I'm doing. Just in case people didn't understand. That's what I'm doing. So let's get into movies, cinema. Let's get into it. At this point, we can all agree that big tech is ruining Hollywood. Also, plug real quick. Just want to remind you all, Freakier Friday is dropping in theaters this Friday. So just want to say that it is a very good movie. I know y'all gonna like it. For those who are big Freaky Friday nostalgia fans, y'all are in for a treat. I digress. I just want to say that. But big tech is ruining Hollywood. News came out that Apple is buying F1 for streaming, around $150 million. And they're now streaming it because one, F1 is streaming it, which they're willing to do it. They're out buying ESPN, who cannot afford to no longer run F1 racing now because Apple's purchasing it. Big tech is about to take over everything. They're about to kill a lot of traditional media. They've already been doing it. And what's so disgusting about it is that a lot of creators and artists are actually losing in this battle. I don't know. There was a story about a Hollywood Reporter that the Orange is the New Black cast, because of the way that streaming is doing royalties, there's no royalties anymore in streaming. Because of that, they're not even getting the same types of residuals that traditional sitcom TV is. So you know the Abbott Elementary crew, listen, that ABC, that check money, oh baby, that Scandal money, that ABC, listen, everybody want to be on the hottest shows. But if you notice, streaming since Netflix, big tech fucked that up because we started with House of Cards. When they started House of Cards, you noticing that TV show seasons are now getting smaller. Back in the day, shows would be 22 episodes, right? They make more money. Now, they're now 8 episodes because of binge watching. They played into binge watching. Binge watching has killed a lot of the American TV cinema landscape because now with binge watching, you can't binge watch 22 episodes. So now they're making them shorter. Now the average like Netflix show or streaming channel shows now is 8 episodes now. Okay, so now it's smaller, which means actors get paid less. They don't get a chance to go for syndication because that doesn't exist in the streaming world. So now they get paid less to deliver, and they don't get any actual residuals from anything after that, no royalties, none of all that. So now they're making less money. And then what's even nastier is that because big tech owns these properties, they're now using AI technology to now copy the mannerisms, qualities of these people, and now pricing them out of the fucking industry altogether. Stay woke. That's all I want to say. Stay woke. Big tech is ruining Hollywood as we know it. It's already happening. I keep reading articles about how AI is, trying to replace the actors, the screenwriters. What about the films themselves and producers and directors? It is getting really weird. Screenwriters are now getting replaced by AI potentially. We see what's happening in the music industry. It's here. Creators, fight back. I'll leave it at that. Oh, music. Chris Brown is coming to Philly very soon. Child, please. There's been a lot of conversations about Chris Brown, his sacrifice, and his. We still doing this? Y'all still we still doing this? Look, he's having the 20th anniversary of his career. Okay. Okay. It's been 15 years since his first major catastrophe. And ever since then, it's feel like every other year there's a lawsuit and a new allegation. Y'all want to go to that concert? Let me just say this. I'm judging y'all. I'm judging y'all. I'm judging y'all. I'm judging y'all. I am. I actually am. This is not one of those things where you can say, I need to have the experience. What is there more to experience with Chris Brown at this point? Christopher Maurice Brown is a whole hot mess. He's abusive. He's toxic. And if that's what y'all want to go up for, please stop saying y'all don't understand why victims don't come forward. Please understand why your friends and others who might not feel comfortable sharing things with you, because y'all gonna stick beside these motherfuckers regardless. So have at it, I guess. Shame, shame, shame. Um, Beyonce has the highest grossing country tour of all time, apparently. 22 show run, grossing a whopping $407.6 million with 1.6 million tickets sold. Beyonce has sold 1.6 million tickets. Over $407 million this tour grossed. She's the first female artist, I believe, to have 2 back-to-back shows that's grossed over $400 million. Renaissance did over $500 million. This is done on 400. She's the only artist, I think, solo artist to do that. Solo, right? You know, Rolling Stones, YouTube, Coldplay, they've done it, I believe. But she is the act that's done it. No one's touching her. And the fact that people keep trying to compare Chris Brown and Beyonce at this point is like, what? What? We've already discussed this. Her peer is Usher. Okay, moving along. Just wanted to get that clear too. As far as TV, Love and Hip Hop, I want to say, I know I keep talking about Love and Hip Hop. This season, they've been so blunt this season. This show is, I love it, but everybody's blunt. Like Kurt and Rashida is going after Yandy and Mendeecees, and they're beefing, and they're like naming all their skeletons. They are like going frank. This is, I love this. I love this. This is what we've been waiting for folks to confront. This is going back to the old Love and Hip Hop days, but we're going back to the real name calling and real frank. It is good. I haven't seen this much since Jocelyn left, but there's some there's some stones being thrown, and I'm here for it. But I want to talk about Love Island. Love Island is coming to Philly. They're looking for a cast for it. They're trying to get a casting crew of interest. Let me just say this. Let's not. I can now tell you that, some of my friends love Love Island. They was addicted to it and watching it. But I do think this season 7 of Love Island has really run its course. It really has run its course. There's just too much racial tension with the straights on this show. There's too much like really weird racial issues and racism and issues that happens on this show for me to really be into it. There's also a lot of just disingenuousness, right? Nobody lasts. Everybody breaks up. Everybody divorces. Like nobody's actually finding love on Love Island. It just seems very fake. And I just miss real reality TV. The people that bring on the show, everybody has good bodies, quote unquote. Everybody's quote unquote attractive. It's a bunch of influencers. Can we just go back to real reality TV? Like either you're going to give me celebrities, right? Like Love and Hip Hop, where we know what it is, or give me regular people. What happened to the days of that? Like I remember Survivor back in the Real World. Like I just want regular people on TV. They're funny. Regular people are funny. Everyday people, everyday Americans are hilarious as fuck. Like I love Wife Swap, Parent Swap, all that. Like I remember those shows, y'all. Like those shows were fun because they were relatable. I can't relate with these people on these stupid shows now. Like these dating shows and shit. I'm like, I can't be invested. And you're rooting for people for the wrong reasons. Where it's almost like you gotta root because of X, Y, and Z things. I just, these influencers that's on these shows, they get caught with their racism and they have to leave the shows and like they don't really vet these people. It's just, I don't know. It's just not fun to me. But now they want to come to Philly. And and if they did go on Philly, I just want y'all to know they're not picking the type of people from Philly that we would want to see on the show. It's not going to be our Philly people. They're going to be like New York gentrifiers, people that live in Fishtown, They're not going to be people from North and from West. They're going to be from like Fishtown and Rittenhouse and Society Hill. They're going to be very polished. They're going to be, their accents and their personalities are not going to be reflective of what we think Philly is. It's not going to be what we think it is. We're better off having a love, what a Real Housewives of the Mainline, and get some of that real authenticity. We're better off having a Love and Hip Hop Philly. Like, I would love a Love and Hip Hop Philly. I think there's some interesting people that can be. I mean, clearly Meek Mill will have to come and anchor the show because he'll be the catch, right? But they're definitely, I mean, Milano de Rouge can be on there. You know, one of Meek Mill's baby mamas, you know, she got the clothing line. You know, we always love a clothing line on a reality show like Love and Hip Hop. You know, we got to have the OG, you know, Philly Freeway, you know, we got to have the OG, right? That's going to try to give wisdom. That's going to try to do his thing. We got to have some of the newcomers that's trying to make it happen. You know, the guy with Kerr, you know, he's a rapper in Philly that's trying to make it happen. You know, we got to have the new, we got a lot of up and coming new rappers and singers. You know, we might need to bring back some of the OG lovers like Charlie Baltimore. Where you at, Charlie? Like, come, you know, Charlie Baltimore might need to come. Maybe, you know, her daughter, I think, is trying to do music or something. We got to have the new generation, old generation. Who's the messy DJs? Like, DJ Diamond Cuts need to be on there. Like, I can see a Love and Hip Hop Philly. Like, that's the show we need to have. We need to have that. I think there's some fun there, right? And then you gotta have like the influencer type. They're not doing music, but they're in the mix. And I would say that person would be, you know, Meathead or Meatloaf or whatever her name is, Meatball or whatever. She would definitely be good for this show as well. I mean, she will bring the energy. You know, we need some chaos. We need some immaturity, some pettiness. And then a crossover person that would be good for this show that I think could easily blend in is DJ. I mean, you know what? Actually, Rich Dollars and Richie D would be a good crossover because he's got a little bit of Philly awareness. You know, there's some Philly swag there. And then also, I gotta say, Peter Gunz. Peter Gunz would work really well. Peter Gunz got some Philly connection. Who's messy? Another messy person that would be good for this show. The guy from the Roots, Dice Raw on Love and Hip Hop with the Creep Squad. I'm just saying, Mona, call me. Call me. Somebody call me. I will, you know, maybe I can make an opinion. Look, let me clarify this though. I will not be a castmate. I will just be somebody that would just be in the media, like one of those, right? You know, I would just be one of the folks that's not like a friend of somebody on the show and kind of just be a little messy. Like I'm a Jonathan character. I'm not Carly Red. I'm just like somebody who will be my real self and get these people together, you know? They should have me just come on and just kind of, you know. Somebody would say Mark Lamont Hill could be on there with a Joe Budden feature. See, he would be an original castmate. At this point, he would be a regular castmate with his drama. It'll be weird, but he'll work, right? See, that's the show. I'm telling you all. I mean, there's other people that we can imagine on the show, but that's Love and Hip Hop Philly for me. That would work. Tell me I'm wrong. I'm not. Would y'all watch that show? You would. You would. You would. We got to have Meek Mill, and we got to have some drama with him and Milano de Rouge. We got to have that drama. That's going to be the lead into the show. That's the hook. We got to have Meek on the show. That's what sells the show. Everybody else will be a part of the show too. We got the OG. Philly Freeway would be the OG. And where is Cassidy? You know? Memphis, you know, where is Beanie Siegel? Beanie Siegel, come on. And maybe Dr. Umar Johnson. I'm not above it. There's gotta, listen, that's Love and Hip Hop Philly. We gotta have these characters. I'm here for it. Now, on a serious note, there's a documentary on Hulu called Hurricane Katrina, Race Against Time. This is the 20th anniversary of that tragedy in New Orleans. I think it's good to watch. If you have not understood Hurricane Katrina, I lived through that as a Houstonian at the time. It is worth watching. I encourage people to watch it. I think it is good TV. It's powerful. Let me just say in advance, it is very, very powerful and is very, very good. It will piss you off. You'll be reminded why George W. Bush is a piece of shit. You'll be reminded why this government failed its people. You will be angry. It will be frustrating. It's powerful though. It's very insightful. It's very informative. This is probably the best documentary I've seen on Hurricane Katrina over the years. I know Spike Lee did one. A couple of people did different ones. But this might be the most comprehensive one. If you're interested in knowing a part of American history that oftentimes people never talk about in its full nuance, I think 20 years later, they have finally done it right. This documentary, you can watch it on Hulu. National Geographic is a part of it. But Hurricane Katrina, Race Against Time, I highly recommend it. And in wrapping up, this week, I'm going to be in Oak Bluffs. I'm going to be at Martha's Vineyard. I'm going to be enjoying my time. Follow me on my journey to Martha's Vineyard. There's going to be fun pictures and fun times. I'm going to have a good time. I'm going to relax. And I encourage all of you, with the exception of Park Administration, because they don't need to relax. They need to get their shit together. And Harrisburg, too. But take some time to enjoy the view, to relax, to breathe, to get ready for September and teaching these kids and education and work, because it's coming back really fast. But take some time to actually relax. And as always, be well and be best. Ernestly Speaking is recorded in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, and can be found on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts. To stay up to date with the latest on the show, follow me on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at Mr. Ernest Owens. Use the hashtag Ernestly Speaking to tell me what you thought about this episode, and check out my website at ernestowens.com.